Every time my wife argues, she brings up divorce. She only has one condition. All the property goes to me. She only wants our daughter. She is certain I can't bear to leave her and our daughter. Until on my birthday, I saw Qinglii with my own eyes, dining in a restaurant with our daughter and her first love. Our daughter happily swung her legs, leaning over to eat the pastry Zimingqiu had bitten, and smiling, she said, "It would be great if Uncle Z were my dad." Qinglii smiled as she served them dishes. Her gaze remained gentle, always resting on Zimingqiu and across from her. At that moment, I suddenly felt exhausted. Without disturbing them, I turned and left. After returning to the villa, I prepared a divorce agreement. 7 years of marriage in exchange for a woman's betrayal. I should wake up now. I put the agreement in an envelope and asked Aunt Liu to give it to Qinglii. Then I dragged my suitcase and headed to the airport. Around 9 p.m., Qinglii and her daughter returned. Nianian clutched at her clothes, getting out of the car slowly. Because I was there, she actually didn't want to come home tonight at all. "Mom, we're going out to see tomorrow. What if Dad insists on coming with us? What should we do?" "He won't," Qinglii said firmly. She knows that all these years of marriage, as long as she shows her stance, I wouldn't dare make her unhappy. Hearing this, Nianian finally felt relieved. Her earlier gloom gone, she skipped into the house. Aunt Liu remembered my instructions and handed the envelope to Mrs. Qinglii. "This is what Sir asked me to give you." Sir packed up and returned to the country at noon. Qinglii paused with the envelope in her hand. He actually went back. He didn't know why I suddenly came here. And he didn't care either. Even knowing I left, he didn't take it to heart. Nianian was also a bit surprised. She had been thinking, if Dad didn't go with her tomorrow to the sea trip with Mom, having Dad stay with her at night would actually be nice. And the gift for Uncle Z wasn't finished yet. She still wanted me to help her complete it. Qinglii didn't say anything more. She took her daughter upstairs. Back in the room, she was about to open the letter I gave her when Zimingqiu called. After Qinglii answered the call, she casually tossed the envelope aside and walked out. The next day, when Aunt Liu came up to clean, she saw the envelope on the floor and recognized it as the one I had asked her to give Qinglii yesterday. She thought Qinglii had already read it, so she casually placed it in a nearby cabinet. Meanwhile, after I got off the plane, I went home and went upstairs to pack. After all, it had been 6 years. There were quite a lot of my belongings in the house, but I only took a few sets of clothes and some professional books. After marriage, Qinglii would give me living expenses every month, but my heart was full of my wife and daughter. So most of the money she gave me, I spent on the two of them. However, over the past year, since my daughter mostly stayed with Qinglii abroad, I had far fewer chances to buy things for them. Now there was still over 30 million in my account. This amount means nothing to Qinglii, but to me, it's not a small sum. Since it was money that originally belonged to me, I didn't hesitate to transfer it away. I dragged my suitcase and left without looking back. Previously, I had bought an apartment near the company. It had been regularly cleaned. A simple cleanup made it livable. After 10 p.m., after washing up, I went back to my room to rest. The piercing alarm sound woke me from my sleep. My mind was blank for a moment. When I regained clarity, I suddenly realized it was 1 a.m. It was in the U.S., around 7 a.m. where Qinglii and our daughter were. Qinglii and our daughter usually have breakfast at this time. Ever since our daughter followed Qinglii to the U.S., I would usually call her at this time. When she first went to the U.S., she wasn't used to it. She always wanted to call me. But as time went on, over the phone, her attitude toward me became perfunctory and impatient. This alarm had long lost its purpose. I just couldn't let go. Thinking of this, I gave a bitter smile. After hesitating for a while, I deleted the alarm, turned off my phone, and went back to sleep. Meanwhile, Qinglii noticed I didn't call today, but she didn't care. After breakfast, she went upstairs to change clothes, and Nianian also felt I was getting more nagging. She liked talking to me on the phone less and less, seeing that I hadn't called even this late today. She thought I might be busy with something, Her bright eyes rolled. She grabbed her school bag and ran outside. Aunt Liu quickly followed, Miss. It's still early. It's fine to leave a bit later, but Nyanyan didn't listen. She happily ran toward the car, just kidding. It was rare that Dad was busy today and didn't call on time. If she didn't leave now, once Dad called later, she'd have to talk to him again. She didn't want that at all. As for me, after waking up in the morning, I went to Sheng Group for work. Back then, I joined the company because of NiceGamLii. Now that I'm getting a divorce, I no longer have any reason to stay at Sheng Group. Jiang Yan is one of NiceGamLii's personal secretaries. When she saw my resignation letter, she was very surprised. She is one of the few in the company who knows about me, and one of the people who knew about my relationship with NiceGamLii. When I first joined, Jiang Yan was worried I would throw the secretarial department into chaos. But it turned out to be beyond her expectations. I worked very seriously, and my abilities were outstanding. After a few years, I became the team leader of the secretarial department, and my feelings for NiceGamLii, she had always seen clearly. To be honest, Jiang Yan never expected me to resign. She figured that something had happened between me and NiceGamLii that she didn't know about. So NiceGamLii allowed my resignation. Although it was a pity, Jiang Yan still handled it professionally. I've received your resignation letter. I'll arrange someone to take over your work as soon as possible. I nodded and returned to my desk. After being busy for a while, Jiang Yan reported work to NiceGamLii online. When the discussion was almost over, she suddenly remembered my resignation. But when the words reached her lips, she recalled that when I first joined, NiceGamLii had said, everything about me in the company should follow company rules. There was no need to report to her specifically. Seeing Jiang Yan hesitate, NiceGamLii frowned. What is it? Jiang Yan snapped back and quickly said, nothing. Although NiceGamLii already knew about my resignation, she didn't bring it up herself. Which meant that in her eyes, it wasn't important at all. So she just followed the usual practice and handled everything according to company rules. Thinking this, Jiang Yan said nothing more. NiceGamLii ended the video call. After work that evening, I checked information about a tech exhibition online. After reading it, I made a call. For next month's tech exhibition, reserve me a ticket. The person on the other end said coldly, are you sure? The last 2 times you asked me to reserve tickets, you didn't show up once. So many people dream of getting a ticket, and you just wasted them like that. I smiled. If I still don't show up this time, I won't ask you again in the future. There was silence on the other end. Then the call was hung up. I knew that meant she agreed. What I didn't say was that I wanted to return to the company as one of the partners. When the company had just started, I chose to get married and be a stay-at-home dad, focusing on family. I've been away from the industry for too long. If I go back now, I might not keep up with their pace. So I plan to first understand the current state of the industry, then make a decision. In the following days, I went to and from work on time. I never took the initiative to contact my daughter or NiceGamLii again. Of course, they didn't contact me either. Meanwhile, in the US, Nyanyan now calls Zi Mingchuan every morning. That day, she hadn't been talking with him for long, before she burst into tears because Zi Mingchuan was going back to the country. After talking with him, she immediately called NiceGamLii. Mom, did you know about this? At the office, NiceGamLii flipped through documents, while Nyanyan hugged her pink doll, crying nonstop. Mom, you're so mean. Why didn't you tell me? I don't want to leave Uncle Z. I don't want to study here anymore. I want to go back home. NiceGamLii said calmly. It's already being arranged. We'll return next week. Nyanyan jumped up from the bed. Really? Why didn't Uncle tell me just now? NiceGamLii replied flatly. The situation just became clear. He hasn't been informed yet. Jiang Nyanyan was overjoyed. Then Mom, don't tell Uncle Z yet. We'll surprise him when we return. After hanging up, Jiang Nyanyan was still very happy. After a while, she suddenly thought of me, because I hadn't called her these past few days. She had been in a very good mood, but after so many days, she suddenly felt like she missed me. Thinking of it, she couldn't help but call me. But just as the call went through, she suddenly thought, after returning home, Dad and Uncle Z would both be there. She wouldn't be able to see Uncle Z anytime like here, whenever she wanted. Thinking of this, Nyanyan's mood suddenly turned bad. Meanwhile, it was midnight back home. I was already asleep, but her call woke me up. Just as I was about to answer, Nyanyan angrily hung up. Although I had given up custody of her, she is still my daughter. I was worried something might have happened, so I quickly called back. Nyanyan saw the call, but turned away and refused to answer. I became even more worried, and immediately called the villa's landline. Aunt Liu quickly picked up. After hearing me out, she said the young lady was in her room and fine. Only then did I feel relieved, but being suddenly awakened, I couldn't fall back asleep for a long time. On the day of returning home, after putting the last document into her briefcase, Shen Qingli went downstairs. All right, let's go. As for the envelope with the divorce agreement, Shen Qingli never thought about it again after that day. The stretch limousine quickly left the villa, heading toward the airport. Meanwhile, I was walking alone aimlessly on campus, when a familiar voice called out to me. Zhao Chun. Su Wanqing looked at me with a smile. How have you been lately? I smiled lightly. Pretty good. I'm just preparing for a divorce. Su Wanqing didn't expect such an answer. I'm sorry, I didn't know. What are your plans next? Do you want to come back to the company? I hesitated before speaking. I do have that in mind, but Su Wanqing didn't know what my concerns were. She said seriously, you also have a share in the company. I hope you can come back and take charge of the overall situation. I looked at Su Wanqing's serious expression. I had my difficulties. It's not that I don't want to. It's just that the industry has developed too fast. I've been away for 6 years. Even if I go back now, I'm afraid I won't be able to keep up. At this moment, Su Wanqing seemed to have a guess, but didn't say it out loud. She just said seriously, it's okay to fall behind. Your ability and talent are beyond ordinary geniuses. Zhao Chun, as long as you still want to walk this path, it's not too late to start again now. Don't forget, you are the student I'm most proud of. In all my years of teaching, hearing this, I finally smiled. After taking a deep breath, I nodded. All right, I'll come back to the company, but I still need to hand over my current work. It may take some time. Su Wanqing readily agreed. After all, I had skipped grades repeatedly back then, graduated from university before turning 18, and quickly founded my own tech company. Even obtained several patents in the early stage. As long as I come back, what's a little more waiting? After chatting a bit more, we went our separate ways. That night, after midnight, Shen Qingli and Jiang Nyanyan returned home. She carried the sleeping Jiang Nyanyan to her room, then went back to the master bedroom, only to find no one inside. At that moment, the housekeeper brought her luggage upstairs. Shen Qingli frowned and asked, where is he? The housekeeper quickly replied, Sir is on a business trip. Half a month ago when I packed my things and left, he happened to be away. I heard from other servants that I left with the suitcase, so she thought I went on a business trip. Shen Qingli gave a soft and didn't ask further. The next day, when Shen Qingli arrived at the company, she ran into me. I didn't know that Shen Qingli and Jiang Nyanyan had already returned. Catching sight of Shen Qingli at the company unexpectedly, I suddenly stopped in my tracks. Seeing me, there was a hint of surprise in Shen Qingli's eyes, but she only thought I had just come back from a business trip, and didn't think much of it. She walked past me coldly and entered the company. If it were before, knowing she suddenly returned, I would have been very pleasantly surprised. But now, I only glanced calmly at her back. Since she has returned, then the divorce should be put on the agenda soon. I didn't think much more about it. After returning to my desk, I got into work. Half an hour later, Jiang called and asked me to make 2 cups of coffee and send them to President Shen's office. After making the coffee and bringing it over, I saw her sitting on Ziming Xuan's lap. The two of them seemed to be kissing. I froze. My face instantly turned pale. Ziming Xuan hurriedly stood up. Shen Qingli's expression turned extremely unpleasant. She said coldly, who allowed you to come here? I clenched the tray in my hands. I came to deliver coffee. Shen Qingli, another personal secretary, happened to arrive. Alright, Secretary Jiang. This is really quite meaningless. I understood what she implied. She thought I knew Zi Mingxuan was here and came under the pretense of delivering coffee to disrupt their time together. Judging from Shen Qingli's expression, she seemed to think the same. They didn't give me any chance to explain. The secretary said coldly, "Please leave immediately." My hands holding the tray trembled slightly. The coffee in the cup spilled, burning my fingers. I endured the pain and turned to leave without a sound. But after taking 2 steps, Shen Qingli's voice came from the office again. "If there's a next time, then you won't need to come to the company anymore." But she didn't know I had already resigned. Even without this incident, I would have left the company soon anyway. But I knew that when it came to me, no one here really cared. After tending to my wound, when I returned to my desk to continue working, I suddenly heard colleagues gossiping. I heard President Shen's boyfriend came to the company. President Shen has a boyfriend. Who is it? What's his background? No idea about the background, but the front desk said he's from a wealthy family and extremely handsome, with an outstanding temperament. The 2 colleagues were chatting. When they saw me stand up, remembering we had to go downstairs together, they quickly stopped talking. I showed no expression, turned and left the office, and walked with them toward the meeting room. Then we saw Zi Mingxuan with 4 senior executives walking straight toward us. We heard Zi Mingxuan say politely, "Thank you to the managers for accompanying me on the tour. Much appreciated." He spoke courteously, but seemed to act as if he were already the boss. The managers smiled along. When they saw us approaching, their expressions immediately turned stern. "Watch where you're going. If you bump into Mr. Z, do you have no sense of propriety at all?" The 2 colleagues beside me peeked at Zi Mingxuan, while hurriedly stepping back and pressing against the wall. Zi Mingxuan also saw me, but quickly looked away indifferently, then left under the escort of the managers. The 2 colleagues let out a breath, then excitedly resumed gossiping. "That must be President Shen's boyfriend, right? So handsome. He's wearing all designer brands. No wonder he's from a wealthy family." As they spoke, they softly asked me, "Jiang Chun, what do you think?" I lowered my eyes and said calmly, "Yes. Zi Mingxuan is actually my father's illegitimate son. When he was 8 years old, my father, in order not to let Zi Mingxuan and his mother suffer, insisted on divorcing my mother to marry Zi Mingxuan's mother. After my parents divorced, I stayed with my mentally unstable mother, living with my grandmother and uncle. It's said that to make up for the grievances Zi Mingxuan suffered in childhood, my father spent countless amounts of money raising him. So the once illegitimate child, Zi Mingxuan, has now become a legitimate young master of a wealthy family. I once thought that after childhood, I would never cross paths with Zi Mingxuan again, but fate seemed to favor him greatly. The moment Shen Qingli saw Zi Mingxuan, she completely fell in love with him. However, Shen Qingli and I will soon be getting divorced. The one Shen Qingli loves will no longer have anything to do with me. I worked overtime until around 9 p.m., and when I was almost done with work, my phone rang. It was my good friend Joe Jimmy, drunk, asking me to pick him up from a restaurant. I quickly finished handling the documents, grabbed my car keys, and left the company. 20 minutes later, I arrived. After getting out of the car, just as I was heading toward the entrance, a little girl walked out from the parking lot on the other side. Seeing her clear side profile, I froze in my tracks. How could it be Nyanyan? Did she come back with Shen Qingli? I thought Shen Qingli had only returned briefly. For some matters, I didn't expect my daughter to come back too. Based on the fact that I saw Shen Qingli this morning, it's clear they've already been back for at least a day. Yet my daughter hasn't called me even once to tell me they had returned. Thinking of this, I tightened my grip on my phone, watching the cheerful little figure bouncing ahead. I quietly followed behind. When we reached a corner in the hall, Zi Mingxuan and several of Shen Qingli's friends appeared at the end of the corridor. I quickly stepped aside to hide. Then I heard my daughter happily call out, "Uncle Z," and she rushed straight into Z Mingxuan's arms. I sat down on a sofa nearby, with my back facing them, using the plants and chair back to hide myself. Then Nianian clung to Z Mingxuan and acted spoiled. "I haven't seen you for a whole week. Uncle Z, I missed you so much. If I couldn't call you every day, I wouldn't have been able to stay in the US these days." Such a warm and beautiful scene. As if they were the real father and daughter. Z Mingxuan happily patted the girl's head. "I miss Nianian too. Let's not stand here. Come on, let's go upstairs and eat cake." Their footsteps gradually faded away, but my mind went completely blank. It took me a long time to come back to my senses. Silently, I stepped into the elevator and went upstairs to help my friend down. Joe Jimming's private room for dinner was actually on the same floor. When I helped Joe Jimming into the elevator, Ji Qingyu, Shen Qingli's friend, paused. Someone beside her asked, "What's wrong?" "Nothing. I think I saw someone familiar." I didn't notice Ji Qingyu. After sending Joe Jimming home, I stayed there that night to take care of him. The next day, when Joe Jimming woke up and saw me, he gratefully hugged me. "Thanks for last night. I'll treat you to a meal another day." I patted his head. "Get up and wash up. Breakfast is getting cold." Joe Jimming quickly washed up and sat at the table, eating breakfast while playing on his phone. But soon his expression changed, and he couldn't help asking, "Shen Qinglii is back?" As he spoke, he handed me his phone. I took a look and saw it was Ji Qingyu's social media post. She had posted several photos from their gathering last night, although it was to celebrate Z Mingxuan's birthday. 4 or 5 of the 9 photos were of Shen Qinglii. Photos of Shen Qinglii and Z Mingxuan together, especially when cutting the cake. The two of them held the same crystal knife, cutting the cake together. Nianian, however, didn't appear in any of them. Probably because they didn't want people at the Shen family old house to know. But just from the photos, it was clear this was something Shen Qinglii deliberately prepared for Z Mingxuan. Thinking of how cold she was on my birthday half a month ago, I forced a smile. Whatever happens between them has nothing to do with me anymore. I've already asked Shen Qinglii for a divorce. What? Joe Jimming's eyes widened. You brought it up yourself. He had always seen how much I loved Shen Qinglii. Actually, Joe Jimming didn't dislike Shen Qinglii at first. After all, she was simply too outstanding. She graduated from university at 13 and went abroad for further studies. After returning, she founded several listed companies of her own. Even the Shen Group advanced rapidly because of her, within just a few years. So for a genius like me to fall for a genius like Shen Qinglii, Joe Jimming didn't find it strange. But thinking about how Shen Qinglii had misunderstood me all these years and trampled on my sincerity, he completely lost any goodwill toward her. He knew very well how much I loved Shen Qinglii. Joe Jimming had witnessed it all. But this was the first time I had ever brought up divorce. What happened? I thought for a moment and said, "It's not really anything major. Maybe I've just accumulated enough disappointment to want a divorce." Joe Jimming understood my personality. He knew that once I made a decision, I wouldn't change it easily. Thinking of that, he comfortingly patted my shoulder. "It's good that you're divorcing. A woman like that isn't worth it." After breakfast, I went to work. Before I could even leave, I unexpectedly ran into Shen Qinglii again. She was the same as always. Every time she saw me, the coldness on her face would grow more obvious. Shen Qinglii just glanced at me, then looked away. My expression was the same as yesterday. I softly called out, "President Shen." Only after Shen Qinglii walked away did I step into the company. In the afternoon, as I packed up to leave work, a staff member handed me a document, asking me to handle it urgently. I glanced at its contents and knew it wasn't actually urgent. If it were before, I would have smiled and accepted it and promised to finish it as soon as possible because I wanted to build a good relationship with Shen Qinglii's personal secretaries so I could get closer to her. But now that we're divorcing, what is there to care about? Besides, the staff member wrongly accused me yesterday. I'm not that magnanimous to pretend nothing happened. I looked at her and said coldly, I'm not doing this task now. I'm off work. Her face darkened. Thinking I was abusing my status for special treatment, Secretary Jiang, please correct your work attitude. Do you think this is your home? I remained indifferent. If you're dissatisfied, you can fire me right now. She turned livid. While I walked straight out of the secretary department. At that moment, Shen Qingli walked over and asked what happened. The staff member immediately complained. Secretary Jiang left work before finishing her task. Shen Qingli said indifferently, if you're dissatisfied, just follow procedure and fire him. Jiang Yan and Cheng Yuan were stunned. It wasn't that they thought Shen Qingli was too cold toward me, but rather, it seemed she had no idea I had already resigned. But about my resignation, just as they were about to speak, Shen Qingli's phone rang. It was a call from Ziming Xuan. Shen Qingli didn't look at them. She walked past them toward the elevator. While answering the call, Jiang Yan and the staff member looked at each other. By the time Shen Qingli got home, it was already the next morning. She happened to see Jiang Nianian having breakfast. The enrollment procedures are done. Report to school tomorrow morning. Got it. Jiang Nianian wrinkled her nose and said, Mom, can you take me to school tomorrow? Shen Qingli shook her head. I might not have time. Nianian's eyes lit up. And she said happily, then I'll call Uncle Z later and ask him to take me to school. Before Shen Qingli could respond, her phone rang. It was a call from the old family residence. When she answered, it was old Madame Shen, asking her to bring her husband and daughter back for dinner that night. For old Madame's request, Shen Qingli rarely refused, while telling her daughter they would go back to the Shen residence to see great-grandma. She also picked up her phone and called me. At that moment, I was having breakfast at the Jiang family home. Seeing Shen Qingli's call, I paused, no longer feeling any excitement. Instead, I hesitated for 2 seconds before answering. Grandma wants us to go back for dinner tonight. Come pick up the child after work. I agreed to the dinner right away. But I didn't want to go back to her place. Besides, even if I personally went to pick up my daughter, she might not even be happy to see me. Why bother making the effort for nothing? I said. Let the driver take her there. I'll drive over myself after work. That's the simplest way. But I had always personally handled matters concerning Nianian. So hearing this, Shen Qingli was a bit surprised, but she didn't think much of it. She just said got it and hung up. Seeing this, Nianian asked, will Dad come back with us to great-grandma's? After getting a confirmed answer, Jiang Nianian instinctively frowned. It wasn't that she didn't want to see her dad, nor that she didn't want him around. It was just that when she woke up the day after returning, she found out her dad had gone on a business trip. She wanted to take advantage of those days to spend more time with Uncle Z. But now that her dad was back, she couldn't let Uncle Z take her to school. As for Uncle Z's racing match tomorrow night, if her dad found out, he definitely wouldn't let her go watch. Thinking of this, she acted spoiled toward Shen Qingli and said, about Uncle Z's race tomorrow night, can we not let Dad know? Shen Qingli nodded, got it. After getting Shen Qingli's promise, Jiang Nianian finally felt a bit better. After work that evening, I brought gifts to the Shen family's old residence. Before entering, I heard my daughter Jiang Nianian's cheerful laughter. Old Madame Shen noticed me and immediately smiled. Zhao Chun is here. Come, sit with Grandma. But only the old madam was smiling. When the others saw me, their smiles faded. I noticed it, but I no longer cared as I used to. I pretended not to see, handed the gifts to the butler, who came to receive them, and walked toward the old madam. Grandma. She beamed with joy, pulling me to sit down. Then frowned. Why have you lost so much weight? Did Qingli bully you? I lowered my eyes and shook my head. No, I've just been busy lately. That was half true. Over the past half-month, after work every day, I had been focusing on researching artificial intelligence, often staying up until late at night. Before the old madam could speak, Shen Tingling sneered. Listen to you talking like that, anyone would think your job is that important. As if the entire Shen group couldn't function without you. Shen Qingli's mother, Sang Qian, sat nearby and spoke coldly. If you think working at the Shen group is tiring, then just resign. No one is begging you to work at the Shen group anyway. The old madam couldn't stand others speaking to me like that and was about to respond. But I spoke first. I've already submitted my resignation. Once I complete the handover, I'll leave. As soon as I said that, Sang Qian and Shen Tingling were both startled. The old madam frowned, about to say something, when Jiang Nianian suddenly shouted and rushed into my arms. Dad is here. Seeing me, Jiang Nianian looked quite happy. I gently hugged her and responded with a soft but didn't say anything more. Shen Qinglii followed her inside. After entering, she first greeted the old madam and Sang Qian. When she saw me, she glanced briefly and looked away, then sat down on a single sofa far from me. After entering, she moved lightly and sat steadily on the sofa. Seeing so many people, she smiled and said, "Is everyone waiting for me?" Shen Tingling tapped her head. "Of course, we've all been waiting for you on empty stomachs." Shen Qinglii was usually quiet and reserved. Shen Tingling had a spoiled temper, while Shen Shinran was the family's source of joy and was closer to their parents. As soon as she returned, Sang Qian clearly showed a rare smile on her usually cold face. The old madam also looked even happier. Seeing it was getting late, she instructed them to begin. After the meal officially started, everyone chatted while eating. The atmosphere was quite pleasant. I quietly lowered my head and ate. From the moment Shen Qinglii entered until now, it had already been over 10 minutes. Yet the two of us had not exchanged a single word. But everyone was already used to it. Suddenly, Jiang Nianian looked at me. "Dad, I want to eat shrimp." I put down my chopsticks and started peeling the shrimp. The old madam looked at my hands and suddenly paused. "Zhao Chun, where is your ring?" As soon as she said that, everyone looked at my hands. After the marriage, although the married life between Shen Qinglii and me was cold as ice, I had always worn the wedding ring that the old madam prepared for us. On the contrary, Shen Qinglii had never worn it even once. Shen Tingling had mocked me many times over this in recent years. My hands paused slightly while peeling the shrimp. Then I said calmly that I left it at home in a hurry this morning, but in fact, I had already taken off the ring when I prepared the divorce agreement and put it together with the divorce papers in an envelope. After hearing that, the old madam smiled. "So that's how it is." After that, no one brought up the topic again. That night, we stayed overnight at the old house as the old madam wished. At around 8 o'clock, Shen Qinglii and the old madam went to the study to talk about business. I took Jiang Nianian upstairs to sleep. As soon as she lay down, Jiang Nianian asked tentatively, "Dad, are you busy tomorrow morning?" Although she could compromise and let Dad accompany her to school tomorrow morning, deep down she still hoped that the one accompanying her would be Uncle Z. So it would be best if Dad was not free tomorrow morning. I shook my head. "I'm not busy. What's wrong?" Hearing that, Jiang Nianian pursed her lips in disappointment and said, "It's nothing. Since Dad is free tomorrow, then she would have to tell Uncle Z about it." Jiang Nianian was afraid that Z Mingxuan would feel regretful, sad, and disappointed. She kept thinking about how to tell him. I saw her staring at her phone and knew she still wanted to play with it. So I reminded her to watch for a while and then go to sleep. "Don't look at it for too long, understand?" Jiang Nianian was already annoyed, and hearing me nag so much made her even more impatient. "Dad, you can go out now. I'll turn it off and sleep after 9:30. After saying that, I told her good night and left the room, and Jiang Nianian immediately closed the door and locked it. I had just taken a step, and I naturally heard Jiang Nianian lock the door from the inside. I didn't think she was guarding against others. She was only guarding against me. I didn't bother to think too much about it and turned back to my room. I had just lain down when I heard Shen Qinglii's footsteps entering the bedroom. In the past, I would have gotten up to hang up the clothes she had taken off, then happily prepare her pajamas and go into the bathroom to run her bath. But now I had no intention of getting out of bed. Instead, I slowly closed my eyes. Shen Qinglii, although she had always been indifferent to my usual care, still noticed that my attitude toward her had changed so much. She naturally sensed my coldness. but thought I was just throwing a little tantrum and wasn't upset by my unusual behavior. She said indifferently, Nyanyan. The school enrollment have been completed. Tomorrow morning you take her to school. I responded coldly, got it. Shen Qingli said nothing more and turned to the walk-in closet to find clothes for a shower. I looked at her back and almost wanted to ask her when we could go get the divorce certificate. But Shen Qingli was indeed very busy, and with her personality, once all the procedures were completed, she would contact me on her own without me urging her. After all, Shen Qingli was the one who wanted the divorce more, and precisely because of this, I quietly waited for her message and never urged her even once. At this moment, Shen Qingli's phone rang. She answered it with a gentle tone, and I immediately guessed it was Ziming Chuan on the other end. The next moment, Shen Qingli let go of the wardrobe and said, I'll come over right now. Then she quickly left the room without looking back. Soon after, I heard the sound of a car. Shen Qingli had left the old house. I calmly closed my eyes, turned off the light, and went to sleep. The next morning, I woke up a little after 6. I was alone in the room. Shen Qingli didn't come back after leaving last night. But I no longer cared. I checked the time with a calm expression, and seeing that Jiang Nyanyan was still not up, I knocked on the door. After quite a while, Jiang Nyanyan finally got up and opened the door. She pursed her lips. Why are you knocking so loudly? It's giving me a headache. Hearing that, I didn't get angry. Instead, remained calm. It's far from here to school. If you don't get up now, you'll be late. Because it wasn't Ziming Chuan taking her to school. Jiang Nyanyan didn't even want to go. But no matter how willful she was, she knew she couldn't be willful about school. She lay on the bed, feeling gloomy, and said okay. Then she looked at me, Dad, help me put toothpaste on. After I agreed, I turned and went into the bathroom. Jiang Nyanyan took the chance to pick up her phone and send a message to Ziming Chuan. After saying good morning, she went into the bathroom, picked up the toothbrush I had prepared with toothpaste, and started brushing her teeth. When she was almost done brushing, I warmed a towel with hot water, wrung it out, and handed it to her. I opened the wardrobe and asked which outfit she wanted. Seeing this, Jiang Nyanyan said, forget it. I can change myself. You can go out first. After I left, Jiang Nyanyan took out the clothes she had specially brought from home yesterday and put them on. It was a super cool camouflage outfit, picked by Uncle Z yesterday. Today she would wear this to cheer for Uncle Z. Thinking about seeing him again, she became happy. After changing clothes, Jiang Nyanyan picked up her phone and looked. Soon she frowned, because Uncle Z still hadn't replied. Could it be that Uncle Z was angry? Thinking of this, she quickly sent him another message. Uncle Z. What's wrong? Are you angry? Uncle Z, you know, I don't want Dad to take me to school. You know I like you more, Uncle Z. Don't be mad, okay? After quite a while, Ziming Chuan still didn't reply to her. After I finished getting ready, I came to find her. Nyanyan, are you ready? It's time to go downstairs for breakfast. Not having received a reply from Ziming Chuan, Jiang Nyanyan was very anxious. Faced with my urging, she replied impatiently, got it, Dad. Can you stop talking all the time? It's really annoying, you know. After saying that, she grabbed her school bag angrily and went downstairs. I followed behind her without saying anything, but I noticed the clothes Jiang Nyanyan was wearing. They were very eye-catching. I almost immediately guessed what was going on, but I didn't ask, and calmly went downstairs to eat breakfast. When we were about to go out, Jiang Nyanyan realized she had forgotten something and ran upstairs. I sat downstairs waiting for her. At that moment, Jiang Nyanyan's phone lit up. I saw the notification, labeled Dear Uncle Z. I paused. Although Jiang Nyanyan was still young, ever since she got a phone, I had always respected her privacy. I had never looked at her phone. But when I saw the message from Ziming Chuan, I crouched down and picked up the phone. And then I finally understood why Jiang Nyanyan had been losing her temper with me all morning. I quickly scrolled through their chat history and found that every morning, Jiang Nyanyan would take the initiative to message Ziming Chuan to say good morning. They chatted every day. And for a long time, when I heard the elevator I pretended I hadn't seen anything and put the phone back where it was. Jiang Nianian took back her phone, and when she saw that Zi Mingxuan had replied, she immediately smiled happily. After getting into the car, Jiang Nianian sat in the backseat and began texting and chatting with Zi Mingxuan. Occasionally, she would sneak glances at me to see if I was paying attention to her, seeing that I was just focused on driving. She relaxed, but since the school was far away. After chatting with Zi Mingxuan for half an hour, she stopped. By then, Jiang Nianian's mood had improved, and she felt like talking to me again. Dad, are you free this afternoon? I didn't look back. What is it? Jiang Nianian smiled brightly. It's nothing. Since Dad isn't free this afternoon, then after school she can go directly to Uncle Zi. After dropping her off at school, I went to work at the Shen Group. Not long after arriving, Jiang Yan brought someone to my workstation. This is a senior. He will be taking over your position. Brother Su looked striking, dressed in designer brands. He sized me up a few times and found my demeanor clean and handsome. A hint of scrutiny appeared in his eyes, though he didn't show it. Instead, he warmly extended his hand to introduce himself. Hello, Brother Jiang. I'm Brother Su. Please take care of me in the next few days. I shook his hand. You're too kind. I graduated from Jinda. Just finished my master's in June. Brother Jiang, which school did you graduate from? Hearing that, I paused. That means Brother Su might not have much work experience. Yet he was to take over my position. But perhaps he had his own strengths. Thinking this, I gently interrupted him. Mr. Su, there's a meeting later. Let's talk about work first. Suji exclaimed, oh right. I almost forgot the main point. Let's talk about work first. Talk about work first. By the afternoon, after spending a day with Suji, I found that Suji had an outgoing personality and was good at socializing. His work ability was also quite strong. By a little after 6 p.m., I was about to get off work and go home when Suji came over and said he wanted to treat me to dinner to thank me for today's guidance. This is part of my duty. There's no need to be so polite, Secretary Su. Suji was about to persuade me further when my phone rang. It was my mother-in-law, Sang Kian. At first I thought I had seen it wrong. Sang Kian had never liked me as her son-in-law and usually treated me coldly. Over the years, the number of times she contacted me could be counted on one hand. I answered the phone in confusion. Mom, Shinran has been secretly racing with others recently. I'm not at ease about her. I'll send you the address in a moment. Go and bring her back for me. Sang Kian didn't say anything extra. After giving the order, she hung up directly. A few seconds later, she sent me an address. I said to Suji, sorry. I have something urgent to deal with. I'll leave first. More than an hour later, I finally arrived at the destination. The racetrack was huge, and even late at night there were many people. Calling Shinran, she didn't answer. So, I had to look for her everywhere. It took nearly 20 minutes to find her. When Shinran saw me, she was very surprised. Brother-in-law, why are you here? After I explained the situation, Shinran raised her hand and swore. Today is the first race after my idol brother Chuan returned. I don't want to miss it. I promise I'll go back after watching the race. So brother-in-law, don't worry about me. You go back first. I was about to say something more when a lot of people ahead started shouting excitedly. Hearing the commotion, Shinran completely ignored me and excitedly shouted along with the crowd, even picking up binoculars to stare at the starting line. I was a bit surprised. When did you start liking racing? Shinran said excitedly. I used to have no interest in racing, but that was because I hadn't met my idol yet. Do you know how handsome and cool my idol is? As she spoke, Shinran handed me the binoculars. Brother-in-law, look, my idol is number 38. The one in the red racing suit. Being forced to accept her recommendation, I took the binoculars and only glanced once. Then I froze Zi Mingxuan. Brother Chuan was actually Zi Mingxuan. I then adjusted the angle and ended up looking at the audience across. There were Shen Qingli and others. The race was about to begin. Shinran anxiously took the binoculars back. But I was still looking toward where Shen Qingli was. Besides Shen Qingli, our daughter Jiang Nianian and several of Shen Qingli's close friends were also there. It was obvious They had all come specifically to cheer for Zimingxuan. Several racing cars sped past before my eyes and vanished in an instant, triggering waves of screams. Shen Shinran watched for a while with the binoculars, then stuffed them back into my hands. Look, my idol drives boldly yet steadily. So cool. I took them and found Zimingxuan after a while. Zimingxuan seized the moment with great precision and overtook at the corner. Soon the race ended. Zimingxuan took first place. I asked Shen Shinran for the binoculars. Shen Shinran said excitedly, "Brother-in-law, you're captivated by my idol too, right? I told you, no matter men or women, no one can resist my idol." I lowered my gaze and said nothing. Meanwhile, Shen Shinran was extremely excited. She and her friends were discussing going to ask for his autograph when they heard that Zimingxuan had already left with his friends to celebrate. At this moment, Sang Qian had already called to urge me. I refused Shen Shinran's request to go out and have fun with her friends and prepared to take her back. Before leaving, I went to the restroom. When I came out, I bumped into someone, and we apologized at the same time. When I looked up at her, I paused. It was Bai Jian, another friend of Shen Qinglei. Bai Jian naturally recognized me. When she saw me, her already cold expression became even colder. Of course, I noticed it. I met Shen Qinglei when I was 10, but Shen Qinglei and Bai Jian had grown up together as close friends, with a very strong bond, whether in childhood or after marriage. Shen Qinglei always kept me outside her circle. So between me and Bai Jian, we weren't even casual acquaintances. Yet not long after she met Zimingxuan, she introduced him to Bai Jian and the others. I heard that Zimingxuan and Bai Jian had become very close. Perhaps because of this, over the past 2 years, Bai Jian and the others had grown even colder toward me. In the past, I had also tried to get along with them, but they looked down on me and gave me no chance at all. They were always cold to me. I have my pride too. Since they had made their attitude clear, I didn't force it. This time, I walked past her directly. But Bai Jian spoke up. "Mr. Jiang is also interested in racing." I immediately caught the implication. She was suspecting that I had followed Shen Qinglei here. I turned back and said coldly, "What are you trying to say?" Bai Jian remained expressionless. "Just that someone like Mr. Jiang doesn't seem like the type who would like racing. So I'm a bit curious about someone like you." I turned and looked at her coldly. "Miss Bai, are we that familiar? Since Miss Bai thinks she understands me so well, why don't you tell me what kind of person I am?" Bai Jian didn't speak. She just looked at me. She couldn't be bothered to judge me, but the way I spoke to her today was somewhat different from how I used to be, because my gaze was cold. I didn't care what Bai Jian thought. I withdrew my gaze and turned to leave. Sang Qian had rented a place for Shen Shinran near the school. I sent her back near the school after Shen Qinglei and the others finished celebrating for Zimingxuan. When she returned home, it was already close to 1 a.m. After sending Jiang Nianian back to her room, Shen Qinglei went back to the bedroom but didn't see me, and asked the housekeeper, "Hasn't he come back tonight?" The housekeeper shook his head. "He hasn't been back these past few days." Shen Qinglei was a bit surprised. It was rare for me to stay out so often. Could something really have happened to the Jiang family? The next day, Jiang Nianian had been spending time with Zimingxuan and having a great time. She woke up in the morning with a big smile. Then she suddenly thought of me and happily ran to the master bedroom hugging her plush toy. "Dad," but she didn't see anyone there. Jiang Nianian's face fell. She picked up her phone and called me. I had just come back from a run. When I saw her call, I answered casually. Before I could speak, Jiang Nianian spoke first. "Dad, where are you?" I didn't answer, and just asked what was the matter. Besides Zhou Jiming, no one else knew where I lived now. I quite enjoyed living alone and didn't want to be disturbed. Jiang Nianian had the phone on speaker, lying on the bed I once shared with Shen Qinglei, acting cute. "I miss you. Dad, I want you to take me to school later." I said calmly. "Nianian, it's quite far from where I am. I won't be able to make it back in time to take you to school. Maybe next time, Jiang Nianian felt a little disappointed, then naturally made a request. Dad, you have to take me to school tomorrow morning. After a brief pause, I said, how about letting your mom take you? I don't really want to go back there. Jiang Nianian had the phone on speaker. Our conversation. Qingli could naturally hear my hesitation. She also noticed it, and felt a bit surprised. After all, judging by how much I used to care about my daughter, such a small request, I would have agreed without hesitation. Jiang Nianian's request wasn't satisfied. She felt wrong. No. I want you to take me, except for yesterday. Dad, you haven't taken me to school for a long time. Hearing my daughter insist, I had no choice but to agree. Not because I felt sorry for Jiang Nianian, but because since she exists, I have to take responsibility for her. Only then did a smile return to Jiang Nianian's face. After hanging up, I tidied up and went to Sheng Group to work. There was a big meeting in the morning. Qingli would also attend. When I arrived at the meeting room, I sat down with the others. More than 10 minutes later, Qingli finally appeared. As soon as she appeared, Suji gasped and stared at Qingli with shining eyes, unable to take his eyes off her. After work in the afternoon, I had just left the company when my phone rang. It was Jiang Nianian calling. Dad, I want to eat crispy pork and water chestnut pork soup. Dad, can you come back and cook for me? I paused. Qingli and I weren't officially divorced yet. Going back to cook dinner for my daughter now. I believe Qingli wouldn't have any objections. But I was a bit tired now. Jiang Nianian is indeed my responsibility, but I also have my own life. I will no longer do things unconditionally for her, to sacrifice my own time. I said, Dad has something to do today. Maybe next time. In the past, I always prioritized Qingli and Jiang Nianian. I almost never told them. But today, for the first time, she heard me refuse twice. Jiang Nianian instantly felt wrong. Dad, why have you been so busy lately? I don't care. I want crispy pork. And I want water chestnut soup. I felt a headache coming, just as I was about to speak. Jiang Nianian snorted and hung up in a huff. I sat in the car in silence for quite a while, before finally driving away. Meanwhile, after Jiang Nianian hung up, she thought I would rush home immediately to comfort her and cook for her. But after waiting and waiting, more than an hour passed. It was almost 8 p.m., and I still hadn't returned. The housekeeper, worried she might be hungry, tried to persuade her, since Sir has something to do. Miss, why don't you eat something first? And when Sir comes back, he can cook for you. Jiang Nianian pouted. I don't want to. Seeing that I hadn't come back for so long, and hadn't even called once, she was truly upset this time. As soon as the housekeeper mentioned it, she burst into tears. I only want to eat what Dad cooks. The housekeeper thought I really couldn't make it back. With no other choice, he called Qingli. Qingli only answered after a while. What is it? The housekeeper explained everything clearly. Qingli told him to hand the phone to Jiang Nianian. She took the phone, still sobbing. Eat first. I'll take you out this weekend. Her sobbing stopped. Jiang Nianian immediately cheered up, and after hanging up, she obediently went downstairs to eat. After dinner, Jiang Nianian kept waiting for me. At around 10 p.m., she heard the sound of a car outside. Her eyes lit up, and she ran downstairs eagerly. Dad, before she could finish, when she saw the person walking in was Qingli. Her cheerful voice stopped abruptly. Mom, Qingli handed her coat to the housekeeper, not missing the disappointment on her face. What's wrong? You thought it was Dad? Qingli wasn't particularly concerned about me. She just said he must be busy with something. And didn't he promise you to take you to school tomorrow? Go to bed early. You'll see him when you wake up. Hearing this, Jiang Nianian finally felt a bit better. She pouted and went back to her room to sleep. After going upstairs, Qingli went to the study to handle some work. By the time she finished, it was almost midnight. She thought I had already come back while she was busy. But when she returned to the bedroom, she found I wasn't there. He hadn't come back. It seemed something really had happened to the Jiang family. Thinking this, Qingli calmly went into the bathroom. The next day, because I had to take Jiang Nianian to school, I got up early. As soon as I entered the villa, I ran into Qingli coming downstairs. I looked at her without speaking, just nodded lightly. As a greeting, Shen Qingli paused, about to speak, when Jiang Nianian ran downstairs and threw herself into my arms. I held her and gently ruffled her hair. It's getting late. Go eat breakfast. She snuggled in my arms. Jiang Nianian felt satisfied and happily pulled me along. Dad, eat with me. While we were talking, Shen Qingli was already seated in the dining room. I couldn't refuse my daughter, so I went to the dining room with Jiang Nianian and sat down. As for Shen Qingli, I simply ignored her. The change in my attitude toward her was naturally noticed by Shen Qingli. The last time we returned to the old house, I was like this too. Thinking of this, Shen Qingli frowned and was about to speak, when her phone suddenly rang. I happened to look over and saw on the phone screen on the table the caller ID displayed baby. Those two words stung my eyes, and I immediately looked away. Shen Qingli noticed my reaction, but showed no concern, and answered the call right in front of me, her voice gentle. What's wrong? Jiang Nianian also noticed the situation on Shen Qingli's side. In Jiang Nianian's memory, Shen Qingli would only show this kind of gentleness when facing Zimingxuan. She momentarily forgot I was there and happily asked, Mom, is it Uncle Z? Shen Qingli responded with a soft hum. Jiang Nianian was about to say she wanted to talk to Uncle Z too, but then remembered I was still there and that I didn't like Zimingxuan, so she swallowed her words. But her good mood was affected. She frowned slightly. If only Dad and Uncle Z could get along well. On the other end, Zimingxuan said something that made Shen Qingli frown in concern. She didn't even finish breakfast and hurriedly left. Seeing Shen Qingli leave in such a hurry, Jiang Nianian also became worried and lost her appetite for breakfast. She pulled me up. Dad, I'm done eating. Let's go out. I knew she wanted to leave early to find out what was going on, but I didn't say anything. After getting into the car, Jiang Nianian didn't wait even a second. Once she sat in the backseat, she immediately messaged Zimingxuan. After a while, Zimingxuan replied, saying it was just a fever and a cold, nothing serious, but his voice, in the message, still sounded a bit hoarse. Jiang Nianian was still very worried and immediately messaged him that she would visit him after school. When the message was sent, Jiang Nianian felt a bit guilty. She hadn't eaten my cooking for a long time. She had originally planned to have dinner with me tonight, but fortunately she hadn't had the chance to say it. When we arrived at school, Jiang Nianian lightly hugged me. Dad, I'll go in now. I just gave a faint in response. Jiang Nianian didn't notice my indifference and skipped happily into the school. Not long after I returned to the company, Jiang Yang came to see me, saying my handover work was almost done, and I wouldn't need to come to the company tomorrow. I nodded. Got it. Jiang Yan didn't expect me to agree so readily, and was about to say something, but I had already extended my hand. Thank you for taking care of me all these years. Jiang Yan hadn't yet recovered, but still reached out and shook my hand. You're welcome. After that, I packed up my things and left. Jiang Yan couldn't believe I really just left like that. A colleague patted her shoulder. What are you zoning out for? Jiang Yan said slowly. Jiang Shan left the company. The colleague was also stunned, but soon sneered. Just because he left now doesn't mean he won't find a way to come back. Probably before long, he'll return with the help of the old Madame Shen. Jiang Yan didn't say anything, although it felt unbelievable. From the impression I'd given her recently, she felt I was serious about leaving the Shen group. I went straight home. I guess my daughter had turned her attention back to Zimingxuan. For the next 2 days, I didn't receive any calls from Jiang Nianian. Late the next night, Zhou Jiming had a fever. I hurriedly grabbed my car keys and went out. It was raining heavily outside. Near Zhou Jiming's neighborhood, I bought some medicine from a pharmacy. As I closed my umbrella and got into the car, the passenger door suddenly opened. A tall figure got in. My heart skipped a beat. As I turned my head, a black gun was pointed at me. I slowly raised my hands and didn't move. The woman took my phone and said coldly, I won't hurt you. After you take me where I need to go. You can leave. I knew I had no right to refuse. So I started the car and asked where to go. Go to Rongdong Pier. I'll tell you the exact route, I replied calmly. I know the way. As I spoke, I drove off. Rongdu Pier was about half an hour away from here. Along the way, I showed no panic, driving steadily and precisely, without taking a wrong turn. The woman held the gun, and the way she looked at me gradually changed. Half an hour later, the car came to a steady stop. When the woman got out, I took back my phone. I found some medicine in the car. I have medicine here. Along the way, the smell of blood in the car had grown stronger. I knew she was probably seriously injured. The woman paused but ignored me and got out of the car. Her figure quickly disappeared into the darkness. I didn't insist and turned the wheel to leave. A few minutes later, the woman boarded a boat to pick her up. At that moment, her phone rang. Before she could speak, Jiang, you hurriedly spoke, sis. Are you okay? My people said they didn't pick you up. Where are you? Jiang said calmly. There was a small accident. I've already reached the pier. After hanging up the phone, Jiang looked at the tall banyan tree in the distance and fell into thought. I returned to Zhou Jiming. Half an hour later, I stayed to take care of him until his fever went down. Before heading home, the next afternoon, Su Wanqing came to pick me up. A month ago, I asked her for tickets to the tech expo, and the opening date was tonight. After getting into the car, Su Wanqing said, so, you're officially returning to the company tomorrow. I nodded, okay. By the way, that algorithm genius I mentioned before, Zimingxuan, will also officially join tomorrow. I'll introduce you to each other then. My expression stiffened. Zimingxuan. You mean that person is Zimingxuan, the one who returned from abroad recently? Su Wanqing nodded in surprise. Do you know him? I curled my lips in mockery. He's my half-brother, and also Shen Qingli's affair partner. The next moment, the car braked sharply. Su Wanqing's eyes widened. I'm fine. Call it abusing my authority if you want. She was about to speak when she saw me shake my head. But I don't agree to letting him join our company. Su Wanqing's expression turned serious, and she agreed without hesitation. It's fine. I support your decision. After all, compared to you, he's worthless to the company. I was stunned for a moment, thinking Su Wanqing was exaggerating. Su Wanqing knew what I was thinking. These are all facts. Do you know why he wants to join our company? He's very interested in our company's programming language Q. Q was developed by my team when I was 17, and it's still unmatched in the industry. Su Wanqing patted my shoulder. That's why I said, he's nothing compared to you. It's really not an exaggeration. As my senior from the same field, she has always known how talented I am in this field. When we arrived, most of the guests had already arrived in the banquet hall. The host of the banquet was acquainted with Su Wanqing. When he saw us, he smiled and walked over, just as he was about to greet Su Wanqing and me. The next moment he suddenly froze while looking toward the entrance. Su Wanqing and I had our backs to the entrance of the hall. Not knowing what had happened, we only saw the host give us an apologetic look before walking past us toward the entrance. Hearing the commotion, my heart skipped a beat, and a guess suddenly formed in my mind. I turned around, and the smile on my face instantly froze. The person who arrived was indeed Shen Qingli, along with Bai Jian and Ji Qingyu. But besides them, Zimingxuan was also there. Not only that, Su Wanqing looked at me worriedly. I smiled and shook my head calmly. I'm fine. At first, I was indeed shocked, but I no longer cared. But Su Wanqing knew that deep down I was someone decisive and daring to think and act, no matter what. Whether something works or not, you only know after trying. The same goes for love. I loved Shen Qingli, and I dared to stake my future on it. I gave up the opportunity to continue my studies and resolutely devoted myself to my family. Now, when I say I'm fine and that I'm letting go, Su Wanqing believes me. She smiled and said, have something to drink. I nodded with a smile. The two of us moved against the crowd to the refreshment area and stood quietly to enjoy some wine. Just then, someone walked toward us. When Su Wonkin saw who it was, she hurried forward. Professor Liu, long time no see. It just so happens I want to introduce someone to you. Professor Liu's gaze fell on me. His eyes showed both admiration and confusion. Indeed, a very outstanding and handsome young man. But why introduce him to me? The language programming project you've been working on recently has hit a bottleneck, hasn't it? Su Wonkin spread her hands and introduced. This is Jiang, my junior. A genius in language programming. PLB. Was developed by my junior leading a team 8 years ago. Professor Liu could hardly believe it was true. Su Wonkin smiled and said, whether it's true or not, once you talk with him, I believe you'll have your answer soon. Professor Liu was extremely excited. After tentatively asking me a question or two, he became more and more enthusiastic and simply couldn't stop. Su Wonqing stood to the side, sipping wine and smiling. Without interrupting them, at that moment, Su Wonqing looked up, only to find Zimingxuan walking toward her. She didn't even have time to react, before Zimingxuan had already reached her. President Su, I heard someone come over to greet Su Wonkin, and turned to look. My eyes met Zimingxuan's directly. Zimingxuan had been wearing a polite smile. But the moment he saw me, his gaze turned completely cold, and he quickly withdrew his eyes. He was about to speak to Su Wonqing. But Su Wonqing smiled and looked at me. She spoke first. This is Mr. Z, Zhao Chun. Would you like to get to know him? With that sentence, Su Wonqing made her stance clear. She has a close relationship with me, and she knows about the conflict between him and me. And in this matter, she stands on my side. Hearing this, Zimingxuan said coldly, so President Su means, I don't need to report to Chanmo tomorrow. Su Wonqing smiled approvingly and clapped. Mr. Z, you're indeed very perceptive. Su Wonqing could have used a more tactful way to deliver this message to Zimingxuan. But she didn't. In fact, her actions were telling Zimingxuan there was no room for compromise. She stands firmly with me. Zimingxuan naturally understood and said nothing more, then calmly turned and left. I watched and smiled warmly. Just as I was about to speak to Su Wonqing, I noticed over there Sheng Qingli and the other two were all looking toward me. They probably didn't expect me to attend this banquet. When they saw me, Qi Qingyu and Bai Jian both showed surprised expressions, but Sheng Qingli showed nothing on her face. Completely indifferent, as if she were a stranger who had never met me. Half an hour later, the banquet ended. Su Wonqing and I also left. As soon as I got home, my phone rang. It was a call from Sheng Qingli. I paused. Was she calling to question me? 2 seconds later, I calmly answered. Sheng Qingli said coldly, Nianian has a fever. She wants to see you. Then she hung up directly. I froze, grabbed my car keys, and went out. When I arrived at the villa, I didn't see Sheng Qingli, but I didn't pay much attention, and went straight to my daughter's room on the 2nd floor. Jiang Nianian had a high fever, and was on in for drip. When she saw me, she softly called, Dad, and reached out for me to hold her. I noticed the needle on the back of her hand, and carefully held her in my arms. She wrinkled her little nose and asked, Where's Mom? Has Mom not come back yet? I paused. When I came in, I didn't see Sheng Qingli. I thought she was in the study. The hotel for the banquet, and here, is closer than my current residence, and she had left at least half an hour earlier than me. Even if she went to drop Zimingxuan off first, she should have been home by now. Unless tonight. She never planned to come back. At that moment, footsteps sounded outside the door. Sheng Qingli had returned. As soon as she came in, she walked toward the bed. Seeing her, I tried to put Jiang Nianian down, to make room for Sheng Qingli. But Jiang Nianian refused to leave. She leaned in my arms and reached out to Sheng Qingli. Sheng Qingli came closer and picked Nianian up. She held Nianian very close. I turned my face away and stood up, creating some distance between me and Sheng Qingli. Sheng Qingli gently placed her hand on Jiang Nianian's fair forehead, then looked at me. What's her temperature now? Has it gone down a bit? I could only repeat what the doctor said. It has gone from a high fever to a low-grade fever, but it's still unstable, and could spike again. Sheng Qingli held Nianian and sat by the bed. Nianian clung to her and refused to get down. but then frowned. Mom, your coat is too stiff. Hearing that, Qinglii took off her coat and handed it to me. I took it reflexively. But the next second I suddenly remembered that Qinglii and I were about to divorce. I casually placed the coat aside and told Jiang I was going downstairs to make some porridge and said goodnight, then turned and left her room. Qinglii watched my departing figure and frowned. By the time I finished preparing the ingredients and started cooking the porridge, 20 minutes had already passed. When I went upstairs, Nyanyan had already finished her four and fallen asleep. She had sweated a lot. Aunt Liu was carefully wiping her sweat. Seeing me, Aunt Liu quickly gave up her spot. She thought I was going to personally take care of Jiang Nyanyan. After all, in the past, when it came to Qinglii and her daughter, I used to handle everything personally. But I shook my head. Aunt Liu was stunned for a moment, but didn't think too much of it, and then carefully changed Jiang Nyanyan into clean, dry clothes. I sat down on the sofa in the room. After Aunt Liu finished, I asked what the doctor said. Will the fever come back? Hearing that, Aunt Liu quickly replied in a low voice. The doctor said it shouldn't. That's good. Since Nyanyan isn't seriously ill, I probably won't need to stay here overnight. After sitting for a while, I went downstairs. Aunt Liu was in the kitchen tending the stove. Sir, you must be tired too. Sit down and rest for a bit. I didn't refuse. As I left the kitchen, I saw Qinglii sitting on the living room sofa reading a newspaper. When she saw me, she glanced over, then returned her attention to the newspaper. I paused for a moment. If it were in the past, I would have gone over and spent more time with her. But now, there's nothing left for us to talk about. Thinking that, I turned and went upstairs. Qinglii didn't call out to stop me. But as soon as I reached the second-floor hallway, I saw Jiang Nyanyan had woken up. Dad, I'm hungry. Is the porridge ready? Almost. I reached out and touched the girl's forehead. After confirming the fever was gone, I turned and went into the kitchen. After 5 or 6 minutes, I brought out the porridge. Nyanyan asked in confusion, Dad, why is there only one bowl? Mom will eat too. I didn't know. Qinglii also wanted to eat. Before I could speak, Aunt Liu smiled. I'll get another bowl. After taking a bite, Nyanyan squinted her eyes in satisfaction. I haven't had this in a long time. It's so fragrant, Jiang Nyanyan said sweetly. Now that we're back in the country, I can eat it whenever I want. I paused when I heard that but said nothing. Qinglii sat across from me and also said nothing. But Nyanyan seemed very happy. As if thinking of something, she acted cute and said, Dad, can you sleep with me tonight? I was about to refuse, but seeing her still pale face, I finally agreed. The next morning, after confirming Nyanyan's fever hadn't returned, I went upstairs, grabbed my phone and car keys, and left. Not long after I left, Nyanyan woke up and looked around but couldn't find me. So she asked Aunt Liu, Dad, where's Dad? Aunt Liu replied gently, Sir had something to do, and went out. But before he left, he already prepared breakfast for you. Jiang Nyanyan's mood improved a little. After washing up, she went downstairs to eat breakfast. Meanwhile, I returned home, packed my laptop and some essentials, and headed straight to Changmo to report in. Su Wanqing was already waiting at the company entrance. When she saw me, she opened her arms and gave me a hug. Welcome back. At the same time, in the corridor of the company building, the QU was leaning by the window making a phone call. Zimingxuan, when will you arrive at the company? No one knew what Zimingxuan said on the other end, but her expression changed. Zimingxuan was her junior. After learning he was interested in Cub and wanted to join Changmo, she immediately recommended him to Su Wanqing. When they first met, Su Wanqing was clearly very satisfied with Zimingxuan. Today was Zimingxuan's scheduled onboarding day. She had just called him. But Zimingxuan said Su Wanqing no longer needed him for personal reasons. As for what those personal reasons were, while the QU was thinking about it, she saw Su Wanqing walking in with me and introducing, This is Jiang Chun. This is Jiang Chun from our company. Before she could finish speaking, the QU suddenly interrupted. President Su, is it because of him that you dropped my junior? Su Wanqing paused, then nodded, regarding this matter. I'll give you an explanation later. But the QU looked at me and said, My junior just obtained A PhD from a top-ranked university in the world this year, and he's only 25. Since Mr. Jiang replaced my junior to enter Changmo. Your resume must be even more impressive, right? After seeing me and Su Wanqing hugging downstairs, the QU assumed I got in through connections. Before I could respond, she sneered again. Mr. Jiang looks quite young. Someone might even think you haven't graduated with a PhD yet. Regarding not hiring Ziming Xuan, Su Wanqing had originally planned to find time later to talk with the QU. After all, it involved the conflict between me and Ziming Xuan, which wasn't suitable to discuss in front of so many people. But she didn't expect the QU to suddenly make things difficult. She frowned and was about to stop her. But the QU loudly interrupted. President Su, I'm talking to Mr. Jiang. I'm just asking about his education. Is it that hard for Mr. Jiang to answer? I replied calmly. I don't think it's hard to answer. I haven't obtained a PhD yet. But as soon as I spoke, the QU didn't let me finish and sneered. But what? You mean even without a PhD? Your expertise isn't inferior to ours. What makes you think that? Because you have a handsome face? Used to being flattered by women. You really think you have real ability? Hearing this, Su Wanqing became furious. QU, reasonable doubt is fine, but this. At this point, the QU's words were practically an insult to me. The QU took off the badge hanging around her neck. I quit. I don't need to stay in a company that relies on connections. After saying that, the QU left without looking back. I also value talent very much, and immediately looked at Su Wanqing. Su Wanqing shook her head, telling me not to be anxious. Moreover, the core technology has a confidentiality agreement with the government, so only a few people can know my identity. And it can't be explained publicly. Seeing that she had it under control, I felt reassured. Su Wanqing looked at the others. Although Zhao Chun doesn't have a PhD, everyone, please rest assured, his professional ability is absolutely sufficient. I can guarantee that. The others in the office exchanged meaningful glances. Actually, something similar had happened last year. A senior executive had also brought in a vase. Someone who knew nothing when questioned. So not just the QU. Everyone else also felt that Su Wanqing was mixing personal and company matters. Seeing everyone's attitude, Su Wanqing took it all in. But she wasn't in a hurry. She simply handed over the work the QU had been handling recently to me. At the same time, at the Sheng group, Sheng Qingley was flipping through documents and said to her staff, have someone make a cup of coffee. This was Suji's first time personally making coffee for Sheng Qingley. He was both excited and nervous. Following the steps I had taught him, he carefully brewed the coffee, and the staff brought it over to Sheng Qingley. Sheng Qingley picked up the coffee and took a small sip, but as soon as it touched her lips, she set it down. The taste is off. What's going on? The staff member froze for a moment. Secretary Su. It might be his first time making coffee for you. So he was a bit nervous and didn't control the heat well. Sheng Qingley frowned. What Secretary Su? Where is Jiang Shun? The staff was stunned for 2 seconds. Jiang Shun has already left the company. Didn't you know? Hearing this, Sheng Qingley remained completely indifferent. Everyone in the circle knows I love her deeply. After some time, she came back on her own. Meanwhile, I had been busy with my own work. By around 5 p.m., I went to find my colleague Su Ting and said, I'm basically done. Take a look and see if there are any issues. Su Ting looked at what I sent over. At first, she was completely confused, but 3 minutes later, her eyes widened in disbelief. You finished all of it. This is over 10 days of work for the QU. Not only did I finish it in less than a day, I even added many new ideas she hadn't thought of. Hearing this, the others gathered around. After understanding the situation, they were all shocked. Coming back to her senses, Su Ting looked at me with disbelief. Are you really a graduate student? I told the truth. I didn't go to grad school. They were even more shocked. All these PhDs and master's graduates from top universities were outperformed by an undergraduate. After chatting for a while and helping a few people solve some work issues, it was almost 7 p.m. when I left the company. As I walked out of the office, I realized Su Wanqing was standing at the door. On your first day, You've already cleared everyone's doubts about you and earned their recognition. As expected of you, I smiled and said, it's thanks to you too. How about I treat you to dinner tonight? Su Wanqing raised an eyebrow. What else do you think I've been waiting here for? More than 20 minutes later, we arrived at a restaurant. As I stepped up the stairs, a child suddenly ran over. To avoid them, I stepped back and almost lost my balance. Su Wanqing reached out and steadied me. I let out a sigh of relief, just about to thank her, when I saw NiceGamLii and Jiang not far away. They saw me too, but I ignored them and went upstairs with Su Wanqing. Seeing my reaction, Jiang looked incredulous. That was your husband just now, right? Is this some new trick he came up with to win you back? Trying to make you care about him again? NiceGamLii didn't respond. When they arrived at the private room, Zimingxuan and Jiang were already there. Zimingxuan asked, "What are you smiling about?" Jiang smiled and said, "Nothing, just met someone quite interesting." After dinner, NiceGamLii and Jiang went home. After getting out of the car, Nian happily ran upstairs, calling out Dad as she ran. Hearing the noise, Aunt Liu came out of the kitchen. "Sir hasn't come back yet." Jiang immediately became disappointed and went upstairs unhappily. The next morning, Jiang woke up, thinking she could eat the breakfast I made again. But she didn't see me. She looked at NiceGamLii and asked, "Mom, where did Dad go?" NiceGamLii didn't know either. "If you want to know, call him yourself." Near the end of the workday, I received a call from Nian. "Dad, when are you coming home? I want to eat your sweet and sour ribs." To be honest, I didn't want to go. I rubbed my temples, just about to refuse. But Nian added, "Mom went on a business trip. I'm so bored. Dad, please come back soon." NiceGamLii had gone on a business trip. I thought about it. NiceGamLii and I were about to divorce. I could ignore NiceGamLii. But before Nian turns 18, I still have a responsibility to take care of her. Thinking that, I agreed. "I'll be back in a bit." That night, I made Jiang her favorite sweet and sour ribs. For the next 2 days, I stayed there. By Friday, Madame Jiang called and asked me to come home for dinner. So I took Jiang back to the Jiang family. The next morning, when I got up to wake Nian, she was already up and washing up. As I was tidying her changed pajamas, I suddenly saw Jiang's tablet light up. It was a message from Zimingxuan. "Is Nian awake? Uncle will be back this afternoon. Let's have dinner together tonight. I'll take you out to play tomorrow, okay?" I glanced at it and looked away. Then I put Jiang's pajamas into the washing machine. When I came back, Jiang was already holding the tablet. When she saw me, she hid it behind her to keep me from seeing her chat with Zimingxuan. I didn't expose her. "The dumplings are ready. Come downstairs for breakfast." Jiang happily jumped off the bed. I haven't had Dad's dumplings in so long. During breakfast, Madame Jiang asked Nian happily, "What do you want to eat tonight? Grandma will have it made for you." Jiang knew that Madame Jiang didn't like Zimingxuan either. Hearing that, her eyes rolled. And she said softly, "Grandma, Mom is coming back tonight. I want to go home for dinner." Madame Jiang felt a bit reluctant. After all, she hadn't seen Jiang for a long time. But over the past 2 years, Jiang had indeed grown up. NiceGamLii, hearing this, didn't think much of it. I knew Jiang was lying, but I didn't expose her. I picked up some food for Madame Jiang and said, "It's fine, I'll stay and keep you company." Nian had been worried about how to find an excuse tonight to ditch me and go see Zimingxuan. But hearing what I said, she instantly felt relieved. When Jiang left, I contacted the housekeeper at NiceGamLii's place and asked him to send someone to pick her up. I didn't take her there myself. Madame Jiang felt a bit strange, and there was no further news. Over the weekend, Jiang must have been having too much fun with Zimingxuan and the others. She didn't contact me again. On Monday night, I had dinner plans with Zhou Jiming. When we were almost done eating, I went to the restroom and ran into Bai Jian. I pretended not to see her and walked past. But Bai Jian stopped and turned to look at me. When I came out of the restroom, I saw that Bai Jiang was still standing there and hadn't left. Seeing me, she asked, "You came here to eat too?" I replied coldly, "Yes. Or does Ms. Bai think I followed you here again and came here because of you?" Bai Jiang paused, then said, "That's not what I meant." I didn't know what she meant and didn't want to know. After saying that, I left directly. Bai Jiang didn't call me back. After leaving the restaurant, Zhou Jimin wanted to buy a birthday gift for his mother, so I went with him to a jewelry store. Zhou Jimin took a liking to a jade necklace set and had just chatted a bit with the store manager when someone suddenly called my name, Zhao Chun. Zilai Hai walked toward me. "You're here to buy jewelry too?" I glanced at him without saying anything, seeing my cold attitude. Zilai Hai looked dejected. "Zhao Chun, do you really have to talk to your father like this? I know I've done things wrong before, but you should know I've always cared about you." Hearing this, I laughed out loud. "Yeah. You care about me, so you let Zi Mingxuan get close to my wife and had my wife take good care of him." Zilai Hai frowned. "I understand your grievance, but Mingxuan and your wife truly love each other. Feelings can't be forced." "So why?" I sneered. "Yeah. Feelings can't be forced. So your cheating back then was perfectly justified? And now he's just like his mother, being a mistress openly and shamelessly." Zilai Hai's expression darkened. "Zhao Chun, when did you become so extreme?" I sneered. "Extreme? If I immediately divorce Shen Qingli and make way for Zi Mingxuan, would that not be extreme?" At that moment, Xiang Rufang and Sun Jian walked in. Xiang Rufang spotted me first. "Isn't this Zhao Chun? Long time no see. You've become even more handsome." Zilai Hai looked at Xiang Rufang, sister-in-law. "Why are you here?" Sun Jian cut in. "Uncle, you've been gone for so long, so we came to check on you." After saying that, he noticed the jewelry box opened by the store owner and looked at me, then deliberately said loudly, "Uncle, is this the custom wedding anniversary gift you got for Aunt? It's so beautiful." Zilai Hai smiled. Over there, Zhou Jimin heard this and had basically figured out the identities of the three of them. "What a bunch of scum," he muttered. After paying, he pulled me and turned to leave, but Zilai Hai called out, "Zhao Chun, you and Mingxuan are brothers. As for what happened this time, I hope it won't happen again." I almost laughed out of anger. "Are you deliberately trying to discuss me?" Zilai Hai sighed and said, "Zhao Chun, Mingxuan is a genius in the AI field. He often has important work to do. So in the future, control your temper and stop targeting Mingxuan." I looked at him coldly, without a trace of warmth in my eyes. "Are you done? If you're done, then get lost." Seeing that I wouldn't budge, Zilai Hai was extremely disappointed. "Let's go." After saying that, he took the custom gift and quickly left. Zhou Jimin looked at me worriedly. I waved my hand. "I'm fine." From the moment Zilai Hai divorced my mother, he was no longer my father in my eyes. I just felt inexplicably disgusted. We headed to the parking lot. Before getting into the car, my phone rang. It was a call from Shen Qingli. I paused for a few seconds before answering. "Grandma asked us to go to the hot spring resort tomorrow. Come back tonight. I'll send a car to pick you and Nianian up." I refused. "No need. I can just drive over from the company myself." Then Jiang Nianian's voice came from the other end, acting cute. "Dad, will you come back and go with me? The hot spring resort is so far. It'll be so boring going there alone." I paused, and in the end didn't refuse. That evening, I got off work on time and went to the villa. Nianian was already waiting in the car, but Shen Qingli hadn't returned yet. Nianian and I waited for more than 20 minutes. Nianian complained, "Mom is so slow." I calmly read a book. At that moment, the housekeeper ran over and said, "Madam said she has something to do. She won't be back for now and asked you and Miss Nianian to go to the resort first. She arrived later." I didn't mind. I nodded and told the driver to start driving. But although Shen Qingli said she'd arrive later, she didn't show up even late at night. Madame Jiang was angry. Nianian was unhappy as well, but I acted as if nothing had happened, calmly making tea for Madame Jiang. Madame Jiang was in a bad mood and went to bed early that night. The next morning, when I woke up, no one was beside me. Nianian was nowhere to be found. After asking around, I learned that since Qingli didn't come, Nianian found it boring here. So early in the morning, she had someone accompany her down the mountain to go play somewhere else. And Madame Jiang had caught a chill from the wind last night and had a severe headache in the middle of the night. She had already gone back to the old residence before I woke up, because she didn't want to disturb my rest. So Madame Jiang didn't have someone notify me immediately. For a moment, in the huge hot spring resort, aside from the staff, I was the only one left. Actually, even if Jiang Nianian found it boring here, she could have waited until I woke up and let me take her out. But Jiang Nianian didn't even say a word and quietly slipped away. It probably wasn't because she was afraid of waking me, but because there was news from Qingli, and she wanted to go meet up with Qingli and Ziming Chuan. She was probably afraid I'd stop her if I knew. So she left early in the morning without telling me, but I didn't really care. I actually enjoyed having time to myself. I could spend more time doing my own things. By Sunday afternoon, I planned to head back after dinner. Just then, I received a call from Madame Shen Zhaochun. I called Qingli again this morning and told her to pick you up from the resort tonight. Did she contact you? Of course not. Not just her. Jiang Nianian hadn't contacted me either, since she sneaked away yesterday. But I didn't plan to tell Madame Shen. To avoid unnecessary trouble, I replied calmly, yes, she did. Hearing this, Madame Shen felt relieved. That's good. After asking about her health, I hung up the phone. After sunset, she said Qingli would come pick me up, but at the resort. I waited until around 9 p.m. and Qingli still didn't show up. I didn't want to wait any longer. So I asked the resort to arrange a car to take me back. As soon as I got in the car, my phone rang. It was Zhou Jiming calling. I answered the call. Zhou Jiming hurriedly said, I had a charity gala to attend today. I didn't expect to run into your scumbag wife and Ziming Chuan. Earlier at the gala, a man cursed at Ziming Chuan, calling him a homewrecker for stealing his fiancée, and even splashed red wine all over him. It was quite an ugly scene. I was just watching the drama, and then your wife actually showed up. Zhou Jiming gritted his teeth and continued. This is a star-studded charity gala. It's being live-streamed, even though Ziming Chuan and the others aren't celebrities. That moment when she showed up to back him was still captured on camera and broadcast live. Zhou Jiming sent me the live-stream clip. I tapped it open. I couldn't clearly hear what they were saying, but the video clearly showed the man confronting Ziming Chuan, arguing with him, and splashing red wine on him. After that, the man's fiancée rushed over to stop him, and the two started arguing. Then Zilai lowered his stance, seemingly trying to reason with them. But the man's family didn't want to listen at all, and kept verbally attacking Zilai and the others. The Z family's expressions turned ugly. It seemed they were being humiliated by the girl's family. Just then, Qingli appeared. She immediately comforted Ziming Chuan, then turned to say a few words to the man's elders before pulling Ziming Chuan away without looking back. Because many celebrities were present, this gala had huge attention. Even though no one knew Ziming Chuan or that man, people still loved gossip. Everyone was watching. And moreover, once it was revealed that Qingli was the one who took him away, the video's popularity spread even faster. As the buzz continued to grow, some of Ziming Chuan's fans recognized him. He got a PhD from a world top 3 university at 25. He's both a race car driver and an adventurer, and also a hacker. What a resume, my god. Is he really that wild? I heard last time he went racing, President Shen even showed up to support him. Did you see the way she looked at him in the photo? Her eyes were full of admiration and pride for her boyfriend. I didn't keep reading and exited the page. Madame Shen said she had contacted Qingli and told her to pick me up at the resort. But it's already past 10 p.m. And Sheng Qingli hasn't even made a single call. I didn't dwell on it. After getting home at 11, I took a shower and went straight to bed. I slept dreamlessly all night. The next morning, I went out to work as usual. At noon, Jiang Nianian called me. It was Jiang Nianian, since she quietly slipped away from the hot spring resort. This was the first time she called me. I answered it, Dad. I hummed in response. Have you eaten? Nianian said obediently, I just finished eating. That morning at the hot spring resort, she received a call from Uncle Z. Saying Mom went out to have fun with him and asked if she wanted to join them. She agreed immediately, and while I wasn't paying attention, she quietly slipped away. They had a great time and only returned to the city yesterday afternoon. But they didn't go home last night. It wasn't until she got back to school this morning that she thought of me. She felt a bit guilty, worried that I would be angry. So she called me. But hearing Dad take the initiative to ask if she had eaten, it seemed that I wasn't angry about her sneaking away that day. After chatting with Jiang Nianian for a while about her studies, I hung up and returned to the office. Su Wonkan came over and asked me, tomorrow is the tech exhibition. We'll gather at the company and head out together. I nodded okay. The next morning, I drove out. Not long after, the car suddenly broke down, and the car behind crashed into me, triggering a chain collision. A bunch of drivers behind were cursing. The car couldn't be moved. After apologizing to several drivers behind me, I immediately called emergency services and waited for the rescue team to arrive. I still had to rush to the exhibition. At this moment, a tall figure walked over from the sidewalk on the other side. By Jian, I didn't really want to deal with her. I first called Su Wanqing and told her about my situation, then asked them to head out first. I go over after handling things here. These kinds of traffic accidents are quite troublesome to deal with. By the time I'm done, the exhibition will probably already be over. Su Wanqing said, wait a moment, I'll contact someone to help you, but it'll probably take over half an hour before they can get to you. I let out a sigh of relief and said, it's okay, I can enter a bit later, as long as I don't miss the exhibition. After hanging up, I was about to talk with the drivers behind me when Bai Jian suddenly said, I'll have someone handle things here for you. Where are you going? I'll take you. I was stunned. 5 minutes later, I got into Bai Jian's car. The two of us sat in the back seat, with some distance between us. But I still felt a bit awkward. More than 40 minutes later, the car arrived at the entrance of the tech exhibition. I got out and politely said to Bai Jian, thank you. Bai Jian responded with a soft after giving another polite nod. I turned and left. Not long after I left, a black sedan stopped next to Bai Jian's car. Zi Mingxuan thought he had seen it wrong. After getting out and checking the license plate, he confirmed he wasn't mistaken. He knocked on Bai Jian's car door. The window slowly rolled down. Zi Mingxuan bent down to look inside. Jian, it really is you. What are you doing here? Bai Jian got out of the car. I came to drop off a friend. At this moment, Zi Laihai and Zi Lilan also got out of the car and hurriedly greeted Bai Jian. Bai Jian nodded and exchanged a few pleasantries with Uncle and Aunt Zi. Bai Jian then received a phone call. It was almost time for the exhibition, so Zi Mingxuan and the others left from the other side. At the entrance of the exhibition, I met up with Su Wanqing and the others. Su Wanqing leaned closer and whispered, at this exhibition, the professor will also attend. My eyes widened. Su Wanqing raised her brows and smiled. Good thing you found someone to help in time. If the professor knew you were late, I instantly understood what she meant. The professor wouldn't care why someone was late. In his view, being late meant a lack of commitment. After graduating from university, I got married and gave up my career to become a stay-at-home dad. The professor was already quite upset about that. If now, just after reuniting, he discovered I was late, I couldn't even imagine it. The exhibition hall was very large. There were drones, flying cars, and humanoid robots on display. There were numerous exhibits, each focusing on different core technologies. As soon as we entered, it was dazzling. Su Wanqing was quite well known. Not long after we arrived, people kept coming over to greet her. Su Wanqing also introduced me to some connections. As I smiled and greeted others, I happened to be facing the entrance of the hall. My gaze met Zimingxuan and his group who had just entered. Zimingxuan paused. He didn't expect me to be here. After all, an exhibition like this was a dream networking event for tech elites. Every slot was extremely valuable. Su Wanqing was a major shareholder of Changmo. She brought me, an undergraduate, into Changmo. The company employees might not say anything, but giving such a valuable slot to a newly joined undergraduate like me would definitely cause dissatisfaction among other elites at Changmo. Zilai Hai and Zilalan also saw me. They frowned as well, not expecting to see me here. I only glanced at them before withdrawing my gaze, seeing me chatting with a tall woman, and it seemed we were quite close. Zilai Hai frowned and asked Zimingxuan, "Do you know that woman, Mingxuan?" Zimingxuan replied calmly, "That's Su Wanqing." Zilai Hai was a bit surprised. He knew that I had left the Sheng group for Changmo. He had known about it. He had thought I went to Changmo as just an ordinary employee. He didn't expect Su Wanqing to value me this much. After an unknown amount of time, Su Wanqing suddenly came to find me and pointed in a direction, Sheng Qingli. So she came too. The tech company under her name has considerable influence in the country, and she understands technology as well. I had actually expected her to come back. After all, Zimingxuan was here. How could she not come? Look, isn't she standing right beside Zimingxuan now? The people around them gathered them in the center, as if they were truly a proper couple. Then I saw Ji Qingyu again. She was here too, but she was talking with others and didn't notice me. Su Wanqing looked quite displeased. "Aren't you going to say hello? I haven't divorced Sheng Qingli yet. If I reveal in public that I'm President Shen's husband," he wanted to see how Sheng Qingli and Zimingxuan would react. I understood what he meant and shook my head. No need. Besides, if Sheng Qingli is pushed afar for Zimingxuan, she would probably not hesitate to publicly expose what happened back then. Even if it wasn't me who did it, there are many entrepreneurs present. If it's not handled well, it could even affect my uncle's reputation. I didn't want to act on impulse. Before I could finish speaking, Su Ting and the others called me over to help answer their questions, so I turned and left, no longer paying attention to Sheng Qingli's side. As I turned around, Ji Qingyu noticed me. At that moment, Zimingxuan had gone over to Zilai Hai and wasn't with Sheng Qingli. Ji Qingyu walked over and nudged Sheng Qingli's waist with her elbow, gesturing in my direction. "Your husband is here too." Sheng Qingli looked in the direction Ji Qingyu pointed, and indeed saw me. I was holding a tablet, standing sideways while explaining to Su Ting and the others some technical concepts of a product in front of us. Ji Qingyu raised her brows slightly and asked, "Who are those people your husband is with? Is he explaining the core technology of the exhibit to them?" "Your husband is quite impressive." Sheng Qingli just looked at me, without withdrawing her gaze, and said nothing. At that moment, I seemed to sense something and looked over. Our gazes met across the distance. I crouched down. The distance was a bit far, so I couldn't clearly see what emotions lay in Sheng Qingli's eyes, but I noticed she seemed to smile slightly. I withdrew my gaze in confusion. Ji Qingyu also noticed. "What are you smiling about?" Sheng Qingli withdrew her smile. "Nothing," she said lightly. Ji Qingyu didn't think much of it, seeing that I had noticed them, especially when I looked at Sheng Qingli. My expression was as calm as if I were looking at a stranger. She couldn't help but raise her brows, unsure whether I was playing hard to get or simply being tactful. At that moment, Zimingxuan walked over. "What are you talking about?" Ji Qingyu reacted the quickest, smiling as she said, "Nothing. Are you done talking?" Zimingxuan had not yet answered. Someone led Professor Liu over. "Professor Liu, this is the Mr. Z I mentioned earlier, the algorithm expert." This Professor Liu was the one Su Wanqing introduced to me at the banquet last time. That day, between Zimingxuan and Su Wanqing, there seemed to have been some unpleasantness. But now, seeing Zimingxuan, she didn't bring it up. When shaking hands with Zimingxuan, she said politely, "Hello, Mr. Z, the Z family's tech company indeed urgently needs tech talent. After learning Professor Liu's background, Mingxuan was also very courteous. Zilai also came over to greet Professor Liu. After that, Mingxuan began chatting with Professor Liu. Their purpose in attending this exhibition was to build connections. Of course, after Shen Qingli arrived. While networking, Zilai and Zilalan were also watching Shen Qingli, wanting to see how she would react upon seeing me. Soon they noticed that after Shen Qingli saw me, she had no reaction, as if she were looking at a stranger. It was said that back then I used underhanded means to force Shen Qingli to marry me. Shen Qingli had no feelings for me and rarely returned home after marriage. It seemed the rumors were true. The exhibition conference was about to begin. Representing Changmo, entering the conference hall were Su Wankin and me. Su Wankin and I walked in front, seeing that I could actually enter the conference hall. Mingxuan and Zilalan were quite surprised. Zilalan said to Mingxuan, "Does Su Wanqing value him that much?" Mingxuan didn't reply. Although they had entered the exhibition, the conference hall had limited seating. Their company didn't provide any exhibits. Generally speaking, even if they got into the conference hall, they would be seated in the back rows. However, Shen Qingli let Mingxuan sit with her in the front row. After a while, the host finally finished the long speech and said, "Next we invite Ms. Zhou Zhuwei to come on stage to give a speech." The name Zhou Zhuwei is renowned worldwide, but in fact, she is still very young, just a little over 40 years old. She is tall and slender. After the host finished speaking, amid thunderous applause, she slowly walked to the center of the stage. Her gaze swept calmly across the audience, and the entire hall fell silent instantly. She briefly finished the formalities, and then gave a simple summary, an affirmation of the exhibits at this exhibition. Then she answered some questions raised by company representatives. After more than half an hour, Zhou Zhuwei stepped down from the stage and walked toward the front row seat, prepared by the organizers. As Zhou Zhuwei passed by, the business leaders seated in the front row all stood up to shake her hand. As she approached, Shen Qingli stood up, and Mingxuan beside her also stood up. Shen Qingli took the initiative to extend her hand to Zhou Zhuwei. "Ms. Zhou, long time no see." Zhou Zhuwei replied calmly as she shook hands. "Indeed, it has been a long time. If we count carefully, it has been over 10 years. Zhou Zhiwei's indifferent attitude wasn't directed at Shen Qingli. She treats everyone this way in public, including her own students. Mingxuan also extended his hand. "Hello, Ms. Zhou. I'm Mingxuan. It's a pleasure to meet you." Zhou Zhiwei glanced at him, shook his hand, and then sat down. Mingxuan wanted to talk to Zhou Zhiwei, but between him and Zhou Zhiwei sat Shen Qingli. Seeing that Shen Qingli didn't take the initiative to speak, he was a bit surprised and leaned over to ask softly, "Did you have some unpleasant history with Ms. Zhou before?" Shen Qingli smiled slightly. "No. Opportunities to meet Zhou Zhiwei are rare. Who wouldn't want to find a chance to speak with her a bit more?" It's not like he hadn't thought about asking Shen Qingli to switch seats, but at the moment, Zhou Zhiwei was chatting quite well with those business elites. And as a junior with little reputation, if he went over to talk to Zhou Zhiwei and interrupted the business elites while they were speaking with her, he might end up offending them. Thinking of this, he gave up. "She doesn't think much of me." Mingxuan was stunned, wondering if he had misheard. Seeing the smile on Shen Qingli's face, he knew he hadn't misheard. But Shen Qingli looked completely unconcerned. So, Mingxuan didn't ask further. After an unknown amount of time, the conference finally ended. Many people immediately headed toward the front rows. Zilalan saw this and grew a bit anxious and waved at Mingxuan. Mingxuan saw her, and before she could speak, he said, "Right now Ms. Zhou is surrounded by big shots. Even if I squeeze in to talk to her, I won't get to say much. I'll just find another chance to speak with her privately later." Only then did Zilalan realize. After chatting with Zilalan for a while, Mingxuan returned to Shen Qingli's side. Seeing him go back to Shen Qingli, someone joked with a friendly smile, Mr. Z is truly talented and handsome. Kingli really has good taste. Sheng Kingli smiled. Zi Mingxuan also smiled generously. Mr. Yuan, you flatter me. Zhou Zhuwei didn't have much time, and after a while told everyone she had to leave. No one else dared to approach. At the same time, we were talking with technical staff from other companies. If we wanted to meet Zhou Zhuwei, it wasn't particularly easy, but it wasn't that difficult either. Not long after Zhou Zhuwei left, Su Wanqing received the message and immediately pulled me out. We left the exhibition hall and went outside to the parking lot to meet Zhou Zhuwei. Hearing our footsteps, I called out, "Teacher." Zhou Zhuwei responded coldly with a hum. "I've seen your exhibits, they're passable." Her gaze swept coldly over the two of us. 3 years, and this is all you've achieved? Su Wanqing and I felt our scalps go numb. Su Wanqing hurriedly said, "We're already preparing new products. We should have samples ready next year." Zhou Zhuwei replied indifferently, "Before it's ready, don't come to see me again." Su Wanqing and I exchanged a glance. "Yes, Ms. Zhou," she continued. "Send me a reflection report tonight." Su Wanqing and I swallowed nervously. "Yes." After saying that, Su Wanqing hurriedly added, "Teacher, one night might be a bit difficult. How about a month? There are so many exhibits and various technical summaries. It would take at least tens of thousands of words. Maybe even over 100,000. How could we possibly summarize everything in one night?" Zhou Zhuwei said nothing, just looked at us. Although Zhou Zhuwei looked gentle and elegant, her gaze was not something ordinary people could withstand. Su Wanqing immediately stiffened. "Understood. We guarantee to complete the task." I was speechless. At this point, the conversation between teacher and students ended. Then Zhou Zhuwei looked at me. I straightened my back. "Teacher." Zhou Zhuwei glanced at me and said coldly, "Where is your wife?" Then turned and left. I was stunned. Su Wanqing said, "Teacher was asking about your wife." I finally understood. But what did they say? Su Wanqing shook her head. "I don't know." While we were talking to Zhou Zhuwei, Zi Mingxuan and Zi Lilan also came out and happened to see us talking with Zhou Zhuwei. Watching Zhou Zhuwei's departing figure, Zi Lilan said to Zi Mingxuan, "It's okay. He doesn't have your professional ability. So what if he knows Zhou Zhuwei? He can't become her student anyway." Zi Mingxuan nodded. "I know. Let's go." After Zhou Zhuwei left, we also returned to the exhibition hall. After that, I saw Sheng Kingli, but I didn't go up to talk to her. And Sheng Kingli didn't come over either. We were completely like strangers who didn't know each other. Zi Mingxuan and the others didn't leave either. Previously, when he saw me at the jewelry store, Zilai even came over to greet me, saying he cared about me, but in a setting like today, we ran into each other many times. Yet he didn't come over like before, to show concern for me. After all, right now, everyone knows he is Zi Mingxuan's father. If he came over, and if people found out about my marriage with Sheng Kingli, then as a father, how could he still stand here with dignity? Zi Mingxuan might even be drowned in public criticism. From this, it's clear how biased Zilai is towards Zi Mingxuan. It couldn't be more obvious. Zilai didn't want to be associated with me in the setting, but he wasn't willing to miss the chance to know Su Wanqing. So, when I went to the restroom, he, along with Zi Mingxuan and Zi Lilan, walked towards Su Wanqing. He introduced himself. "Hello, President Su. I'm Mingxuan and Zhao Chun's father. Zilai, pleased to meet you." Su Wanqing shook her hand politely and said, "So, you are President Zi. Pleased to meet you." Zilai glanced at Zi Mingxuan and said, "Zhao Chun has a somewhat stubborn temperament and has misunderstandings with Mingxuan. As a father, I've always hoped they could get along well. But unfortunately, Zhao Chun just won't listen." Su Wanqing suddenly understood. "So that's how it is." "Yes," Zilai sighed, then smiled again. "However, for Zhao Chun to know such an outstanding beauty like you, as his father, I'm very happy for him. I heard Zhao Chun has joined your company. I'll have to trouble you to take care of him. It really sounded like he cared about me." If he didn't already know everything about my past and my relationship with NiceGamLii, he might have believed his own words. But he didn't say it out loud. President Z, you're too polite. Zhao Chun is very capable. Having him is our company's fortune. Zilai Hai and Zi Mingxuan both thought Su Wanqing was just being polite. With my background, how could I be of much help to her? At most, I'd just be doing miscellaneous tasks, or work like an ordinary programmer. Zilai Hai then brought up Mingxuan's situation. President Su, you should already know, he has always been very interested in Q. So he really hopes to have a chance to join your company, although with NiceGamLii's arrangement, Zi Mingxuan would soon be able to meet Zhou Zhuwei. As for Q, he wouldn't lack opportunities to learn more in the future. But since the company is developing so well, and Su Wanqing comes from a strong background, building a good relationship with her wouldn't be a bad thing. Su Wanqing looked at Zi Mingxuan and said, Mr. Z is indeed very outstanding. If Mr. Z could join our company, I would be very happy. But Zhao Chun is my friend. Zi Mingxuan doesn't necessarily have to join our company right now. He just didn't want to offend Su Wanqing. After all, having one more friend is always better than having one more enemy. Zi Mingxuan said, I understand. I won't force it, President Su. No need to worry. Over there, they seem to be chatting happily. When I came out of the restroom, I paused in my steps. Zi Lilan saw me, and Zi Mingxuan also saw me. With a calm expression, he said to Su Wanqing, we still have things to do, so we'll leave first. Let's talk next time. Su Wanqing shook hands with them. After that, Zi Mingxuan didn't even glance at me again, and left with Zilai Hai and the others. Given Su Wanqing's status, around noon, quite a few big shots came over to invite her to lunch. And from what they implied, NiceGamLii would also be going. On NiceGamLii's side, many industry leaders had gathered. They were probably all going to dine together. The future direction of the AI field largely depends on how these big figures act. This was a chance to gain deeper insight into future market trends. Besides, if the conversation went well after the meal, a deal might be reached. Su Wanqing was clearly tempted. She looked at me, silently asking for my opinion. I decisively agreed and walked out. NiceGamLii and I treated each other like strangers, but that didn't mean I would avoid her. Those big shots then led Su Wanqing and me toward NiceGamLii's group. NiceGamLii looked at us approaching, her expression calm, but Zi Mingxuan frowned slightly. Zilai Hai and Zi Lilan also saw me. Their expressions weren't pleasant. Some people who hadn't greeted Su Wanqing yet took the initiative to greet her when she arrived. When it was NiceGamLii's turn, she also shook hands with Su Wanqing. After some brief exchanges, NiceGamLii and Zi Mingxuan were surrounded at the front, heading toward the parking lot, while Su Wanqing and I followed behind. Zilai Hai and Zi Lilan quietly tried to come over to me, as if to signal me not to follow. But I pretended not to see them. Our group had more than 20 people in total. Everyone sat around a large round table. NiceGamLii naturally sat together with Zi Mingxuan. Zi Lilan actually wanted to sit next to me, because she was worried I might say something inappropriate during the meal. But she was a step too late. The last seat beside me was taken first by Su Wanqing. NiceGamLii handed the menu to Zi Mingxuan and asked him to order for those beside them. Someone smiled and said, President Shen and Mr. Z seem very close. Zi Mingxuan curled his lips into a smile. Su Wanqing also held the menu and asked about my preferences. Hearing the commotion over there, she glanced over, then looked back at me. But there was no particular reaction on my face. When Su Wanqing asked, I discussed with her and ordered 2 dishes. Zi Lilan and Zilai Hai saw that I showed no sign of reacting and temporarily relaxed. I didn't pay attention to their side, because sitting on my other side was Professor Liu. Professor Liu had long known I would be at the exhibition. We had a great conversation at the banquet last time. During this time, she had been wanting to find a chance to talk with me, but we had both been too busy. Now that we met today, she didn't want to miss the opportunity. So not long after sitting down, She started chatting with me. Seeing Professor Liu talking to me kindly without pause. Ziming Xuan and Zilalan both assumed I was discussing professional questions with him and didn't pay much attention. The person sitting on Professor Liu's other side joked, "Old Liu, you really can't shake off your professional habits. You've been talking for so long already. And now even at the table, you still can't stop." Another person laughed and chimed in, "Exactly." Back in the exhibition hall, Old Liu was also talking with Mr. Z for quite a while, seeing the topic shift to himself. Professor Liu smiled and didn't indulge them. She said, "When I usually talk to you about technical matters, you all just push me off to your engineers. Now that I'm not talking to you, each of you suddenly feels uncomfortable." Someone chimed in, "Old Liu, after chatting with Mr. Z in the exhibition hall, you even sighed to me that there are more and more promising talents now, and our country's future is full of hope. Mr. Z is a top student from a world-class university. Of course he's a promising talent." Hearing everyone praise him, Zimingxuan smiled modestly, "You flatter me. Shen Qingli's status is indeed extraordinary." As her companion, everyone naturally favored Zimingxuan more. As for me, they only heard that I was just an employee at Su Wanqing's company. Although my relationship with Su Wanqing seemed ambiguous, there was nothing else noteworthy. So naturally, they didn't pay much attention to me. After the dishes were served, the conversation became more lively. Someone couldn't help but say, "President Shen, your autonomous vehicle project and President Su's company's intelligent traffic programming language are highly compatible. It's really tempting. Are you really not planning to cooperate?" Hearing this, Shen Qingli picked up a napkin and wiped the corner of her lips, then looked at Su Wanqing. "We do have that intention. I wonder what President Su thinks." Su Wanqing naturally wouldn't miss such an opportunity. It is our company's honor to be valued by President Shen. If Shen Qingli and Su Wanqing truly cooperate, Zimingxuan would be happy to see it. After all, if Shen Qingli and Su Wanqing become closer, he would have more opportunities to interact with Su Wanqing, and it would be easier to win her over. Thinking of this, he glanced at me coldly. If Su Wanqing really wants to cooperate with Shen Qingli, I naturally have no objections. After all, there's no need to go against money. The meal was almost over. President Yuan gathered the management team she brought and started talking with Su Wanqing. I followed over as well. When it comes to technical discussions, I can handle it. But for business negotiations, it still has to be Su Wanqing. I sat to the side and rarely spoke. But when I saw Su Wanqing finish her drink, I took her cup and said, "I'll get you a refill." Su Wanqing smiled and said thank you, seeing me acting like her assistant beside her. Zimingxuan and Zilalan became even more convinced that I was basically just doing miscellaneous work for Su Wanqing. I took the cup and turned around, walking a few steps. As I passed near Shen Qingli, someone beside me suddenly turned and accidentally bumped into me. I lost my balance and stumbled forward holding the glass, colliding into Shen Qingli. Seeing this, everyone around paused. It looked like I had been bumped, but who knew whether I did it on purpose? After all, I am indeed quite handsome. Many people even thought I surpassed Ming Xuan. But Shen Qingli coldly pushed me away, with no sign of being swayed at all. I straightened up, softly said sorry, and turned to leave. Zilai Hai frowned. He felt like he had misjudged me. "I didn't expect you, who looked so quiet, to have so many hidden thoughts." After noticing what happened, Su Wanqing immediately stopped talking with President Yuan and walked over to me. "Did you twist your ankle?" My ankle did hurt a bit. It was probably sprained. Seeing Su Wanqing's concern for me, my heart felt conflicted, both touched and somewhat bitter. I also noticed the way people around were looking at me. They all thought I had deliberately thrown myself at Shen Qingli. She wasn't even willing to help me properly. The only one who truly cared about me here was Su Wanqing. "Let me take a look." I quickly refused. "No need. There are so many people here." Su Wanqing ignored me, helped me to the sofa and sat me down, then crouched down Seeing that my ankle was indeed swollen, she instructed the staff to call a doctor. Seeing how she spared no effort to care for me, many people present were quite surprised. Zimengshu pressed his lips and looked away. Then he looked toward NiceGamLii. Although she noticed the close interaction between me and Su Wanqing, she still chatted with others as if nothing had happened. The tension at the corner of Zimengshu's lips eased. Not long after, the hotel's standby doctor arrived. After examining me, he prescribed some medicine. After the doctor left, Su Wanqing applied the medicine for me. I wanted to do it myself, but Su Wanqing shot me a glare, so I had no choice but to comply. But with my foot like this, it really wasn't convenient to go back to the exhibition hall. Su Wanqing had someone record it, so I could review it later through the video. After informing the others, Su Wanqing decided to take me back first. After returning home, I was just about to go to sleep when my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. I hesitated for a moment, but still answered. Hello, may I ask who this is? Bai Jian. I sat up from the bed. Miss Bai. If Bai Jian hadn't contacted me, I would have really forgotten about what happened this morning. Your car. I've already had someone take care of it for you. You can come pick it up later. Before I could speak, Bai Jian added, if you're busy, I can have someone drive the car back to you. I instinctively refused. No need to trouble you. I can go pick it up myself. There was a brief silence on the other end. After a while, I'll send you the contact information for the repair shop. I politely apologized. Sorry to trouble you. Bai Jian didn't say anything and hung up. With my foot injured like this, there was no way I could pick up the car myself. I could only ask Su Wanqing for help. Su Wanqing agreed to drive the car back for me after she finished her work. In the evening, I ordered takeout. Right after I finished eating, Nianian called. She asked when I would come home. I told her directly that Dad had sprained his foot, and it was inconvenient to walk. I'm recovering outside for now, and won't be going home. You should rest early. After hearing that, Jiang Nianian immediately asked, Dad, is your foot injury serious? Does it hurt? I softly replied, it hurts, but it's not too serious. It'll be fine in a few days. Hearing this, Jiang Nianian felt relieved and asked with concern, Dad, where are you now? When Mom comes back, we'll find time tomorrow to visit you. I directly said, no need. Dad can take care of himself. Focus on your studies. After chatting a bit more, we hung up. After NiceGamLii returned, Jiang Nianian saw her and called out Mom. Before NiceGamLii could speak, she hurriedly added, Mom. Dad hurt his foot. He's recovering outside right now. NiceGamLii hummed. I know. Jiang Nianian looked up in surprise. Mom, how do you know? Did Dad tell you? NiceGamLii took the glass of water handed over by Liu Shen and said, no, I saw it myself. Jiang Nianian was stunned, but Dad works at Mom's company. So, when he got hurt, Mom saw it, right? Is that so? NiceGamLii said calmly, no. Dad doesn't work at Mom's company anymore. Jiang Nianian looked up, confused. Then, where does Dad work now? Somewhere he likes. After finishing the water, NiceGamLii put down the cup. At around 8 p.m., Su Wanqing drove my car back for me. I took the keys and asked, how much was the repair this time? I meant to pay her back. Su Wanqing sat down on the sofa. How would I know? I looked puzzled. If you didn't pay, how did you get the car? No one told me to pay. When they heard it was your car, they just let me drive it away. I frowned. So Bai Jian paid for it? Seeing my expression was off, Su Wanqing asked, what's wrong? I shook my head. Nothing. Then let's do the assignment first. After finishing, I'll go back and rest. I've been busy all day. I'm exhausted. The assignment she mentioned was naturally the exhibition reflection assigned by Zhou Zhuwei this morning. I nodded. But when I thought about the repair cost, I said, help me make a call first. I casually called Bai Jian. She picked up almost instantly. Miss Bai, this is Jiang Chun. Bai Jian spoke calmly. Hello, I know what this is about. I quickly asked, I've picked up the car. Did you pay for the repair? How much was it in total? I'll transfer the money to you right away. Bai Jian fell silent for a moment, then said, I'll send you the account in a bit. I replied politely, okay. Sorry to bother you. Thank you so much for what happened today. Bai Jian responded politely, then hung up first. Su Wanqing had been listening nearby. Was she the one? Who handled your car today? At that moment, Bai Jian had already sent the account number, along with a photo of the repair invoice. I glanced at it, and while opening the payment app, I said, yes. From the way I spoke to Bai Jian, Su Wanqing could tell that we weren't very familiar. I transferred the full amount back to Bai Jian and finally sent a message to thank her. Then Su Wanqing and I officially started working on the assignment. We used a PPT format to briefly mark out the core technologies of all the exhibits today. Even so, there were so many exhibits today. By the time we finished and sent the content to Zhou Zhui, it was already past 2 a.m. Su Wanqing was already exhausted, but she didn't have any clothes to change into here, so I didn't keep her overnight. The next morning, I stayed home and worked remotely. Not long after I got up, I received a call from Nianian. Dad, is your foot any better now? I lightly limped while making breakfast in the kitchen and said, it's better. That's good. After saying that, Jiang Nianian didn't know what else to say for a moment. I could sense it. It wasn't like this before. Before, Nianian always had a lot to tell me. Over the past 2 years, our communication has grown less and less. And even if Nianian had something to say, she would go to Zimingchuan first to confide in him. Gradually, between us as father and daughter, we naturally ran out of things to say. Even this time, when I got injured, although Jiang Nianian sounded concerned. In fact, her concern was only superficial. In the past, whenever I got even slightly hurt or caught a cold, Nianian would feel so distressed that she would cry, then cling to me tightly, comforting me and refusing to leave no matter what. Back then, she was truly a warm and caring little girl. But now, without me even realizing, she has given all of that to Zimingchuan, not knowing what to say to me. Jiang Nianian looked at Shen Qingli, who was sitting across from her having breakfast. Mom, do you want to talk to Dad? Hearing Jiang Nianian's words, I suddenly snapped back to my senses, thinking about how she didn't care at all. Whether I lived or died yesterday, my expression turned cold. I was about to say no, but Shen Qingli spoke first. Ask your dad. So Jiang Nianian asked me, Dad, Mom wants to know if you want to talk to her. I pursed my lips and said directly, no. Dad still has things to do. So Jiang Nianian told Shen Qingli, Mom. Dad said no. Shen Qingli responded with a faint Then Jiang Nianian said, Dad, goodbye, and hung up. Jiang Nianian put down her phone and looked at Shen Qingli. Mom. Dad seems upset. She didn't know why she suddenly felt that way. Shen Qingli said calmly, is that so? Then said nothing more. Over the next few days, I kept working from home. Jiang Nianian did call me every day to check on my injury. But just as I expected, she never said she would come visit me. The assignment that Su Wanqing and I submitted, in anyone else's hands, it could be considered confidential. But in Zhou Zhiwei's eyes, it was directly criticized as worthless. So over the next 2 or 3 days, Su Wanqing and I worked while repeatedly revising, spending a lot of time making changes based on Zhou Zhiwei's comments. We kept revising the assignment. By Monday, my foot had mostly recovered. After arriving at the company, Su Wanqing told me, Shen Qingli is probably really planning to cooperate with us. She didn't come in person, but last week she sent someone to get in touch with us. She was worried I'd feel unsettled if I knew, so she didn't tell me. The technical director sent by Shen Qingli was from her personal tech company, not an employee of the Shen Group. It was my first time meeting her. After learning I also work in tech, she politely greeted me. The subsequent discussions went very smoothly. By noon, Chang Mo hosted and invited several people from Shen Qingli's company to lunch. As soon as we got out of the car at the restaurant, we ran into Shen Qingli and Zimingchuan getting out of another car. Seeing them, I paused. Su Wanqing also rubbed her temples. Director Quan's eyes lit up instead. President Shen Qingli and Zimingchuan turned around and saw me and Su Wanqing, and both seemed a bit surprised. Director Quan, after greeting me and Su Wanqing walked toward Shen Qingli and Ziming Xuan. Since Shen Qingli had already seen us, and we still had cooperation ahead, Su Wanqing and I exchanged a glance, and had no choice but to follow. Director Quan clearly also knew Ziming Xuan, and warmly greeted him, Mr. Z. Ziming Xuan responded coldly, hello. Director Quan didn't mind. After all, Ziming Xuan is now someone Shen Qingli values highly, a trusted figure in front of subordinates like them. It was normal for Ziming Xuan to carry himself a bit arrogantly. Director Quan looked at us, then explained to Shen Qingli, I went to Changmo today to discuss cooperation. Since it's lunchtime, I came out to eat with President Su and the others. Shen Qingli nodded, thanks for your hard work. Then her gaze shifted and fell on me and Su Wanqing. She greeted Su Wanqing, President Su. As for me, she said nothing. Su Wanqing responded, since we ran into each other, how about joining us? But Shen Qingli waved her hand. No, I have a personal arrangement. It's not convenient. Next time, I'll definitely treat you, President Su. Personal arrangement meant a date with Ziming Xuan. Su Wanqing sneered inwardly, but smiled and said, you're too polite, President Shen. After they walked away, Su Wanqing asked, Director Quan, you know Mr. Z too? Director Quan nodded. We've met a few times. You all know, President Shen cares a lot about Mr. Z. Mr. Z has been to the company several times. Thinking about it, although I've been married to Shen Qingli for years, and roughly know the companies she founded, I've never been to any of them, because Shen Qingli doesn't allow it. Yet the things she doesn't allow me to do, she never restricts Ziming Xuan from doing. Taking advantage of Director Quan not paying attention, Su Wanqing lowered her voice and said to me, after the incident at the charity gala and last week's tech exhibition, the Z family has already built up quite a network here in the capital. I heard that in the past few days, they've secured several projects. With just these projects alone, the Z family can firmly establish themselves in the capital. What many business people dream of achieving, the Z family accomplished in just a few days. Thanks to Shen Qingli's support, many people outside are extremely envious. I nodded in response. After the meal, the two companies preliminarily confirmed their cooperation. 2 days later, Su Wanqing and I went to Shen Qingli's tech company. The one who received us was Director Quan. She was one of the core senior executives at Hexendu. However, President Jin arrived a bit late. When she entered the meeting, she immediately apologized to me and Su Wanqing. I was upstairs just now, in a meeting with President Shen and the others. Sorry for being late. So Shen Qingli was also at Hexendu now. Su Wanqing and I shook hands with her and said it was fine. After President Jin arrived, we continued discussing the contract details. A few minutes later, someone pushed the door open and entered. Neither Su Wanqing nor I paid much attention, thinking it was just a regular employee. But when Director Quan and President Jin saw who it was, they immediately stood up to greet him. Mr. Z. One looked up, it was indeed Ziming Xuan. Su Wanqing also frowned. Ziming Xuan glanced at me, then said to Director Quan and President Jin, I just came to take a look. Go ahead with your work. No need to mind me. Director Quan and President Jin repeatedly agreed. Yet they didn't dare be negligent at all. They quickly instructed their secretary to pour water for Ziming Xuan. Their attitude was both warm and respectful. Ziming Xuan also greeted Su Wanqing. President Su. Su Wanqing nodded. Mr. Z. After taking a sip of water, Ziming Xuan saw the contract beside him and asked, Can I take a look? President Jin smiled. Of course. Seeing Su Wanqing and me look over, she explained with a smile. Mr. Z is President Shen's boyfriend. President Shen never avoids him when signing contracts. In other words, Ziming Xuan is one of their own, so there's no need to worry about confidential leaks. Su Wanqing smiled and said, with President Jin's assurance, we're at ease. I, on the other hand, kept my head down and said nothing. At home, Shen Qingli's study, because it involved company secrets, she had never allowed me to set foot in it. From the very first day I moved in, she had the housekeeper specifically inform me. So for all these years, the study in the villa, I had never stepped into it even once. Yet Zi Mingxuan could look through it freely, and the confidential documents of Shen Qingli's company at Sundu were known to everyone. From this, it was clear that their relationship had already become very close. Zi Mingxuan put down the document and looked at me. Seeing that I kept my head down, he picked up his tea and smiled. While Su Wanqing and President Jin were modifying one of the contract clauses, she suddenly asked, "Mr. Z, don't you plan to work at Sundu?" Zi Mingxuan put down his cup and looked straight at her. Qingli also asked me if I wanted to work at Sundu, but I prefer to rely on myself. I don't want to take shortcuts, so I declined. Before Su Wanqing could respond, President Jin beside them smiled and interjected, "Mr. Z is just being too modest. We all know you're a top talent in the AI field. Even if you have a close relationship with President Shen, we would never think you got in through connections. On the contrary, if our company could have you join us, our work would definitely go much more smoothly. Mr. Z, why don't you reconsider?" Zi Mingxuan smiled faintly. "Maybe in the future." In other words, as long as Zi Mingxuan wanted, he could come work here anytime. As for Shen Qingli's preferential treatment, I didn't even want to count it anymore. I picked up my cup and took a sip of water. At that moment, I noticed someone standing outside the glass door. When I slightly raised my head, it was Shen Qingli. I paused. Shen Qingli also saw me, but her focus didn't seem to be on me. I turned my head back and saw Zi Mingxuan smiling faintly toward the door, clearly greeting Shen Qingli. Then Zi Mingxuan said to President Jin, "I'll be going now." Only then did President Jin and Director Quan notice Shen Qingli had arrived. It was already close to noon, and it was obvious that Shen Qingli, she had come down specifically to take Zi Mingxuan to lunch. Director Quan and the others were about to stand up to greet her, but Shen Qingli said, "No need to be formal. Go ahead with your work." Director Quan and the others nodded in response. Then Shen Qingli politely said to Su Wanqing, "I'm busy and can't personally host you. Please forgive me, President Su." Su Wanqing smiled. "You're too polite, President Shen. You're busy with work, I understand." After glancing at me, Shen Qingli said nothing more and left first with Zi Mingxuan. Su Wanqing quietly patted my shoulder. As a gesture of comfort, I shook my head, indicating I was fine. By the time we fully finalized the contract terms, it was already past 5 p.m. After Su Wanqing signed, President Jin personally took the documents upstairs for Shen Qingli to sign. Su Wanqing paused. "President Shen is still at the company?" Director Quan replied, "Yes. She's just very busy, handling another project." Director Quan and Su Wanqing are both in tech, and had known each other before. Now that the contract was signed and they relaxed, she lowered her voice and said, "Mr. Z is here too. I heard Mr. Z has been at the company all day today, keeping President Shen company. Their relationship is really strong." I was sitting beside Su Wanqing, so I naturally heard it. A few minutes later, President Jin returned with the signed documents from Shen Qingli. Su Wanqing had important personal matters to attend to that evening, so she declined President Jin's invitation. While going downstairs, we ran into Shen Qingli and Zi Mingxuan at the elevator. Su Wanqing paused. "There are quite a few of us. How about you go first, President Shen? We'll take the next one." Shen Qingli nodded. "All right. See you next time." The elevator doors closed again, and Su Wanqing and I had no choice but to wait. After entering the elevator, my phone rang. It was Jiang Nianian calling. After greeting the others, I answered the call. "Dad, are you off work yet? When are you coming back?" "Ever since my foot was injured, Nianian has been calling me every day. After learning my foot had healed, she asked yesterday when I would come home. I've been busy with work these days, so I didn't agree to go back and stay with her last night." Now hearing Jiang Nianian ask, I replied calmly, "I just finished work. Dad will be back soon." After leaving Zundu, Su Wanqing and I went our separate ways. When I drove back to the villa, Jiang Nianian was already waiting downstairs. As soon as she saw me, she ran over. "Dad." I ruffled her hair, just about to ask if she was hungry, but Jiang Nianian quickly looked at my foot. "Dad, are you really better?" I answered, "I'm better." Jiang Nianian curiously asked about my injury. "Dad, where exactly were you hurt before?" Can I see? I had no choice but to take off my shoes and pointed to my previously injured ankle. Jiang Nianian squatted down to look. There's no wound. Then she added, Dad, you just recovered, you shouldn't stand too long. I already had someone prepare the meal. Let's eat first. Jiang Nianian happily held my hand and led me to the dining room. There were only 2 sets of tableware on the table. Shen Qingli's seat was empty. Noticing my gaze, Nianian said, Mom said she has something to do, so she won't be coming back for dinner tonight. Dad, it's fine if I eat with you. Thinking about running into Shen Qingli and Ziming Xuan in the elevator earlier, her something to do was probably having dinner with Ziming Xuan. Since the hot spring resort, Nianian and I hadn't properly met for about 10 days. So that night, I stayed at the villa. But I didn't go back to the master bedroom. I planned to sleep with Nianian. Nianian was a bit confused why Dad wasn't going back to Mom's room to sleep. But since Dad was here, when she said good night to Uncle Z later, she had to be more careful. It wouldn't be good if Dad found out. The next morning, I found out that Shen Qingli hadn't come back at all last night. She was probably with Ziming Xuan. I pulled my thoughts back, took Nianian to school, and then went back to Changmo to work. Nianian's attention was still mostly on Ziming Xuan, while her need for me came and went. For example, when she hadn't seen me for a long time, or when Shen Qingli and the others weren't around, and she felt bored, only then would she think of me. Otherwise, Jiang Nianian didn't really need me. After knowing my foot had fully healed, Jiang Nianian no longer called me every day, like she did before. Recently, Changmo secured 2 projects, bringing in considerable revenue. So on Friday, the company organized a big team-building event. In the end, everyone agreed to go to a hot spring resort. When I received the message, I paused for a moment. Su Wanqing asked, Don't you want to go to the hot springs? I waved my hand, not really. I just remember the last time we went, when Shen Qingli and her daughter left me behind, and I ended up alone at the hot spring resort. Although I didn't really want to go again. This was my first team-building event after returning to the company, so I couldn't skip it. This time, the company went to a hot spring resort hotel with all kinds of entertainment facilities. After changing into a bathrobe, I went to the hot spring pool. I had just soaked for less than a minute when I saw a little girl, about the same age as Jiang Nianian, squatting by the edge of the pool, curiously reaching her hand into the water. The hot spring pool here was about 1.2 meters deep. The child looked less than 1.2 meters tall. I was worried she might fall in and get hurt. Just as I stood up, I heard a splash. The little girl had actually fallen into the pool. I quickly walked over, pulled her out, and held her in my arms. The little girl clung to my neck, crying and coughing nonstop. I patted her back to comfort her, while asking about her family, and taking her to find the staff. Just as I stepped outside, I saw Bai Jian not far away. Before I could react, the little girl in my arms cried and reached out toward Bai Jian. And Bai Jian walked over and took the girl from my arms. Only then did Bai Jian realize Miao Miao was soaked. She paused and looked at me. I hadn't expected the little girl to be her niece. So I explained, she fell into the pool. I saw it and pulled her out. Bai Jian nodded. Thank you. I waved it off. You should get her changed first, so she doesn't catch a cold. Bai Jian nodded and looked at me as if to say something, but her niece kept crying in her arms. So she said nothing more and carried her into the elevator. Seeing there was nothing else for me to do, I went to the buffet to eat. Before I even finished, Bai Jian came over holding her niece's hand. May we sit here? I didn't really want to have much contact with Bai Jian, but since she asked, I nodded. Please, have a seat. Meow Meow, sit here and don't move. Annie will get you some food. Meow Meow glanced at me nervously and softly replied, okay. Bai Jian then said to me, please watch her for a moment. I didn't really want to interact much with her. That was true, but in this situation, I had no choice but to agree. As soon as Bai Jian left, it was just me and Meow Meow sitting face to face. Meow Meow looked very timid. I was worried that speaking suddenly might scare her. I didn't know Miao Miao's eating habits either, so I didn't dare casually offer her food from my own plate. After hesitating for a moment, I gently said, "Your aunt will be back soon." Miao Miao looked at me with her bright black eyes and only nodded after a moment. Soon, Bai Jiang came back, placed a plate in front of Miao Miao, and handed her a fork. Miao Miao began eating in small bites. Bai Jiang asked, "Is it good?" Miao Miao nodded. Bai Jiang glanced at me, then said to Miao Miao, "This uncle saved you just now. Say thank you to him." Miao Miao licked the cake on her fork and softly said, "Thank you, uncle." So she had brought the child over to thank me. Hearing that, I replied, "You're welcome." Bai Jiang withdrew her attention from her niece and asked, "Did you come alone?" I shook my head. "It's a company team building event. I came with colleagues." Bai Jiang didn't know that I had already resigned from Shen Group. Hearing that, she assumed Shen Group was also having their team event here. And after a pause, she said, "I see." At that moment, Su Wanqing noticed me and waved. I didn't want to have too much contact with people around Shen Qingli, and I didn't think I had anything to say to Bai Jiang. Now that I saw Su Wanqing, I took the chance to leave. "Thank you very much for what happened last time. I have something to do, so I'll go first." "Take your time." When I returned to my room, I was about to read on the balcony when my phone suddenly rang. It was actually a call from Shen Qingli, but she only ever called when something came up. That was the only time she would contact me. I answered the call. Her tone on the other end was cold as she said, "Grandma wants us to come back for dinner tomorrow night." I paused, then said, "Okay, got it." As soon as I finished speaking, she hung up immediately without another word. I slept very well that night. After waking up in the morning, I went to the hotel gym for a short run. After resting a bit, I went to soak in the hot spring again. As I was leaving, I saw the little girl from yesterday. I greeted Miao Miao, but she opened her arms toward me. "Uncle, hold me." I had no choice but to pick her up. After putting on a dry bathrobe, I carried her to the elevator. I planned to part ways once we reached the floor. But while we were waiting, Bai Jian appeared. A bright smile spread across Miao Miao's small face. And Bai Jian walked over and reached out to take her. Miao Miao didn't want to let go of me, but she also wanted Bai Jian to hold her, so she stretched out one arm. Bai Jian then picked her up. But as she took her, Miao Miao's other hand was still gripping my collar. As she lifted her, and with Miao Miao holding tight, my bathrobe was pulled open. I was only wearing blue boxers, and my tone ABS were suddenly exposed in front of Bai Jian. I felt extremely embarrassed and quickly pulled my collar back from Miao Miao's grip. Bai Jian looked a bit stunned. I hurriedly adjusted my bathrobe and said awkwardly, "I have something to do. I'll go first." Only then did Bai Jian turn and say, "Sorry." Miao Miao also thought she had upset me and softly apologized, "Uncle, I'm sorry. I knew she didn't mean it." So I said, "It's okay. Uncle knows you didn't do it on purpose." After saying that, I waved at Miao Miao and turned to enter the elevator. Since I had to return to the Shen family residence for dinner, I finished the group activities around 4 p.m. and prepared to leave early. I was leaving early, so Su Wanqing walked me to the parking lot and reminded me to drive carefully. Got it. As I was speaking, a car slowly drove toward us. I didn't pay attention at first, but then the back window rolled down, and Miao Miao poked her little head out. She waved at me, "Uncle, bye." I smiled faintly, "Bye, Miao Miao." Then I saw Bai Jian looking at me, so I nodded at her in greeting. Bai Jian nodded back, then glanced at Su Wanqing beside me, before withdrawing her gaze. After the car drove away, Su Wanqing stroked her chin and said, "Why do I feel like Bai Jian was looking at me just now, with a bit of scrutiny?" I didn't think much of it. "Really? Why would she scrutinize you?" Su Wanqing rolled her eyes. "How would I know?" Then she added, "Could it be because she saw me standing close to you and thought our relationship was too ambiguous. So, she's keeping an eye on me, for her good friend NiceGamLii. Hearing that, I laughed. Don't worry. It's definitely not because of that. Bai Jian and the others are also close with Ziming Xuan. Compared to me, they would rather NiceGamLii be with Ziming Xuan. She and Ji Qingyu would probably prefer that I get involved with someone else and leave NiceGamLii alone. By the time I arrived at the old residence, it was already completely dark. Aside from the servants, only the old madam was there. After hearing I had returned, she personally came out to greet me. When she saw that I was alone, her smile faltered slightly. Where's NiceGamLii? NiceGamLii didn't come back with me either, but Jiang NiceGamLii usually returns with me. Ever since my foot recovered, Jiang NiceGamLii hasn't contacted me at all since then. As for where she and her mother went this weekend, and who they were with, I had no idea, and I didn't care to ask. Hearing the old madam say that, I smiled. They should be here soon. That's what I said, but whether they would actually come tonight wasn't certain. I went inside and chatted with the old madam for quite a while. It was almost 7:30, yet there was still no sign of NiceGamLii or Jiang NiceGamLii. The old madam frowned. What time is it already? Why haven't they arrived yet? As she spoke, she clearly recalled last time, when NiceGamLii was at the hot spring resort during the gathering, and she was the one absent. With an unpleasant expression, she said to me, Zhao Chun, call and urge her. I had no choice but to pick up my phone and call NiceGamLii. She picked up very quickly and seemed to have guessed my purpose. Speaking first, in 20 minutes, we'll be there, she said. Just as she finished speaking, Jiang NiceGamLii's voice came through the phone. Goodbye, Uncle Z. I lowered my gaze. They were indeed with Ziming Xuan. I immediately hung up the phone and smiled lightly at the old madam. There's traffic at this hour. They'll arrive in 20 minutes. Hearing this, the old madam's expression softened a little, but she was still annoyed. Then let's start eating first. Ignore her. She deserves to eat leftovers. The housekeeper at the side reminded her with a smile. Miss NiceGamLii is still in the car. The old madam snorted again. For the sake of my great-grandchild, I'll spare her this time. I smiled but didn't respond. 20 minutes later, NiceGamLii and the others returned. The old madam didn't look at NiceGamLii, but kindly beckoned to Jiang NiceGamLii. NiceGamLii is back. Jiang NiceGamLii ran toward the old madam. Great-grandma, she was hugged and fussed over by the old madam. Her head rubbed until it turned red before she came over to me. Dad, NiceGamLii sat down beside the old madam and handed her a box, an apology gift. It was a type of snow tea the old madam loved very much. Priceless. The old madam snorted. So, you know to prepare a gift for me. What about Zhao Chun? Did you prepare an apology gift for Zhao Chun? NiceGamLii smiled but said nothing. Only glanced at me. The old madam originally intended to stand up for me and make NiceGamLii pay more attention to me. However, in my opinion, none of that was necessary anymore. I didn't look at NiceGamLii, but smiled and said, Grandma, the food is getting cold. Let's eat first. The old madam, however, thought I was changing the subject because I didn't want her to continue talking about NiceGamLii. She sighed helplessly. You, always taking her side. I only smiled without replying. NiceGamLii's expression was also indifferent. Her face, showing no change even though I spoke up for her. After dinner, NiceGamLii stayed with the old madam chatting, while I sat nearby listening, rarely speaking. I also didn't take the initiative to talk to NiceGamLii, and barely even looked at her. Seeing that after all these years of marriage, we still hardly communicated with each other. The old madam sighed helplessly and waved her hand, telling us to go upstairs and rest. Lying on the bed, Jiang NiceGamLii looked at the quiet me, suddenly noticing that I hadn't been talking much lately. Before, I would always find many topics to chat with her. Gradually, Jiang NiceGamLii looked at me thoughtfully. I asked softly, What's wrong? Jiang NiceGamLii shook her head. Nothing. Maybe she was just overthinking. Or maybe Dad had something on his mind and didn't feel like talking. Jiang NiceGamLii rolled around on the bed and asked, Dad, will you sleep with me tonight? I paused. NiceGamLii, do you want Dad to sleep with you? I'm fine with anything. But it seems like Dad hasn't been with Mom for a long time. Won't Dad go sleep with Mom? I pressed my lips together. I'll go back later. The divorce certificate between NiceGamLii and me hasn't been finalized yet. If Jiang Nianian didn't take the initiative to ask me to stay, and I still stayed here, if the old madam found out, there would probably be trouble again. When I returned to the room, the light was on. Qingli was sitting to the side with a laptop in her arms, busy with something unknown. When she saw me come back, she glanced at me. I went straight into the walk-in closet to find clothes, and then went into the bathroom to shower. When I came out of the shower, Qingli was still typing on her laptop. Seeing it was still early, I leaned against the headboard and read a book. In the bedroom, the two of us quietly minded our own business like this, without exchanging a single word. Near midnight, I got sleepy, put down the book, turned off my bedside lamp, and lay down to sleep. I thought I wouldn't be able to fall asleep, but soon, amid the intermittent sound of typing, I fell asleep. I slept very well. Just as I was about to get up, I realized I was holding someone in my arms. The moment I understood what was happening, I instantly woke up. Qingli was lying in my arms, fast asleep, with almost no distance between us. Before falling asleep last night, I had deliberately slept near the edge of the bed, thinking that even if Qingli and I shared the same bed, there would still be a large gap between us. Unless Qingli, during the days she wasn't sleeping with me, had gotten used to sleeping while holding Zimingquan, and last night, in her drowsy state, she mistook me for Zimingquan. I withdrew the hand that was still resting on Qingli's chest, slowly curling it, clenching it into a fist. I moved, intending to get out of bed, but perhaps my movement disturbed her. I felt her burrow even closer into my arms. I was stunned. All these years of marriage, Qingli had never slept leaning on me like this. I became even more certain that Qingli had mistaken me for Zimingquan. I pressed my lips together and pulled her out of my arms. At that moment, Qingli was also awakened by me, and our gazes met. Qingli woke up. Perhaps realizing she had hugged the wrong person, she paused, then turned over. I didn't look at her again, put on my slippers and went to the bathroom. When I came out after washing up, Qingli was no longer in the room. After stepping out, I saw that she was still wearing her pajamas. Talking on the phone at the end of the corridor, I only glanced once before looking away. When I went downstairs, the old madam was already awake. After a while, Nianian also came downstairs. The old madam smiled. Since everyone's up, let's have breakfast. Jiang Nianian was eating noodles and looked at Qingli with her big beautiful eyes, asking, "Mom, do you also like sleeping in Dad's arms?" I was drinking noodle soup and nearly choked when I heard that. Qingli didn't answer. But the old madam was delighted. "Nianian, why do you say that?" Jiang Nianian blinked her big eyes. "Just now, when I woke up and went to Dad's room to find him, I saw Mom being held in Dad's arms." The old madam laughed, suddenly understanding as she hummed in realization, then looked at Qingli and me teasingly. Qingli still said nothing, and I felt even more awkward, because I knew the person she had wanted to hold was not me at all. At that moment, my phone rang. It was a call from Grandma Jiang. I answered it. On the other end, Grandma Jiang said, "My sister-in-law has come back and brought me some gifts. Do you have time to come back for a meal later?" I looked at the old madam and said, "Nianian and I are at the old residence right now. From what you just said, it seems that later, the two old madams who will accompany you to the orchard to pick fruits are close friends." After learning the purpose of Grandma Jiang's call, the old Madam Shen said, "Then take Nianian back." She then looked at Qingli. "Qingli, you haven't visited your Grandma Jiang in a long time either. Since you're free now, go back with Zhao Chun for a visit." Qingli ate her breakfast and said calmly, "I have something to do later." Hearing that, I wasn't surprised at all. When it came to me, Qingli was always too busy. But when it came to Zimingquan, no matter how busy she was, she could always make time. That was the difference. The old madam's face darkened. "What could be so important? How long has it been since you went back with Zhao Chun?" I interrupted the old madam and said calmly, "Grandma, it's fine. Since Qingli has something to do, Nianian and I can go back ourselves." I said this because I didn't want to force her, and I didn't care anymore. But the old madam thought I was just trying not to make Qingli uncomfortable. She felt both distressed and helpless. That settled then. After breakfast and chatting with the old madam for a while, I took Nianian and left. When we arrived at the Jiang family home, I parked the car in the courtyard of the Jiang villa. Grandma Jiang, my aunt, and Mingshu came out to greet us. The trunk of my car was filled with gifts. Grandma Jiang said, "Why did you bring so many things?" Grandma asked me to bring them to you. Ever since I married Shen Qingli, the interactions between Grandma Jiang and the old Madame Shen had become less frequent than before. Hearing this, Grandma Jiang snorted but said nothing. My uncle Jiang Chongsheng was busy with work and didn't return until dinner time. Thinking back to last time, when Su Wanqing stopped me from letting Ziming Chuan join Sheng Sheng's company and was retaliated against by Shen Qingli, which ended up causing Jiang Chongsheng to lose a project, I felt extremely guilty. Uncle, about last time, I'm sorry. Jiang Chongsheng waved his hand indifferently. It's fine. It's already in the past. I told you before. Even without that incident, with our current situation, we wouldn't have been able to take that project anyway. You don't need to blame yourself. This absolutely must not be known by the old madam. If she found out that Shen Qingli was helping Ziming Chuan bully our Jiang family, she would probably be furious. Seeing the old madam coming over, Jiang Chongsheng nudged me, signaling me to stop talking. So I changed the subject. Next month is Grandma Jiang's 70th birthday. Jiang Chongsheng and I discussed how to arrange it so that she would like it. But the old madam said without much interest, "Don't make a fuss. It's enough for our family to gather and have a good meal together." My Aunt Mingshu said, "But it's her 70th birthday. We should still celebrate it properly." Jiang Chongsheng and I thought the same. Since it was the children's filial intention, the old madam didn't refuse any further. Tomorrow, Jiang Nianian still has school. After dinner, I drove away with Nianian. When we got back to the villa, Jiang Nianian got out of the car and happily ran into the house. I stayed seated in the car, then said to her, "After your shower, go to bed early. Dad still has things to do, so I won't go up." Jiang Nianian's smile faded as she turned back, leaning against the car and looking at me with a slight frown. "Dad, are you busy again?" I kept a straight face. Focus on your studies. If anything comes up, call Dad." Jiang Nianian pouted slightly. When Shen Qingli was busy with work, she also often didn't come home. So now, Jiang Nianian thought I was also busy with work and didn't think anything else of it. The housekeeper, knowing we had returned, came out to greet us. Jiang Nianian asked, "Has Mom come back?" The housekeeper replied with a smile, "Yes, she has." I showed no reaction when I heard that. Only said to Jiang Nianian, "Dad's leaving now." Jiang Nianian stepped aside, while the housekeeper looked a bit puzzled. "It's so late." "Sir, are you going out again?" I didn't say much. I have something to do. After that, I said to Jiang Nianian, "It's cold outside. Go inside." Jiang Nianian waved at me, then went inside with the housekeeper. I watched, turned the car around, and drove away. After entering, Jiang Nianian went upstairs and found the study door open. At that moment, Shen Qingli's tall figure stood by the window, looking outside. Jiang Nianian called out, "Mom." Shen Qingli turned around. Jiang Nianian said, "Dad had something to do. He just got back and left again." Shen Qingli replied calmly, Mom knows. I saw it." Jiang Nianian wrinkled her nose. "Dad's been really busy lately. Almost as busy as Mom." Shen Qingli smiled slightly. "It's getting late." Jiang Nianian yawned and said, "I'm going to shower and sleep." "Good night, Mom." After I got home, I washed up and went straight to sleep. In the following days, including when I went back to the villa during the week to cook for Jiang Nianian, I didn't run into Shen Qingli again. I heard she hadn't gone on a business trip, but simply had things to do and wouldn't come back for meals. As for those things, whether she was dating Ziming Chuan or actually had business engagements, I didn't ask. After work on Friday, while I was thinking about what to eat, Jiang Nianian called again. "Dad, Mom won't be home this weekend. When will you come back?" That meant I would be taking care of her all weekend, no matter the reason. In the past 2 years, it had indeed been Shen Qingli who took care of Jiang Nianian more, since she wasn't available. It was my responsibility to take care of Jiang Nianian. When I returned to the villa for dinner, I asked Nianian where she wanted to go this weekend. She thought for a moment, then she shook her head. "There's nowhere in particular I want to go. From the way she looked, I knew it wasn't that she had nowhere she wanted to go, but that on weekends, she would rather be with Qingjing and Mingxuan. Now that they were both absent, she wasn't in the mood to do anything. I didn't expose her. I just asked, "Do you want to go horseback riding?" Jiang Nianian really hadn't ridden a horse in a long time. When Yang quickly nodded. The next day, I took Jiang Nianian to the riding club. After arriving, I changed my clothes and came out, and heard Jiang Nianian asking with her back to me. The riding instructor said, "My mom and one of my uncles are both amazing at riding horses. And they're super cool too. It's just a pity they're busy today and couldn't come with me." I stood at the doorway, not wanting to interrupt her conversation. It was the instructor who noticed me first, stood up, and greeted me. "Mr. Jiang." I nodded. The instructor asked, "Should I call someone else to guide you?" I nodded. "Actually, I do know how to ride." But when Jiang Nianian was younger, whenever I brought her to the riding club, all my attention was on her. So I hardly rode myself. Come to think of it, it's been 3 or 4 years since I last rode properly. My riding skills are pretty good, but to be safe, it's better to have someone accompany me at the beginning. Jiang Nianian was taken away by another instructor while I went to a different area. But my instructor thought I didn't know how to ride. Seeing how smoothly I mounted the horse, she was quite surprised. "So Mr. Jiang can ride?" I asked briefly, and after letting the instructor guide me for a while, I rode on my own. After several laps, I finally stopped and went to look for Nianian. When I was more than 10 meters away from Jiang Nianian, I suddenly stopped in my tracks. It was Qingjing, and Qingjing and Mingxuan had actually come here as well. Jiang Nianian happily hugged Mingxuan's leg. The 3 of them were chatting about something, and it was clear the atmosphere was warm. Then, Jiang Nianian got onto a horse with Mingxuan. Jiang Nianian sat in front, while Mingxuan sat behind her. Qingjing mounted another horse. The 2 horses walked side by side. The 3 of them chatted and laughed on horseback. From a distance, they looked just like a family of 3. Their figures gradually moved farther away. Without noticing me at all, I withdrew my gaze, turned around, and left. I changed out of my riding clothes, and after sitting for a while, Qingjing called. I picked up the phone. On the other end, Qingjing said, "I'm at the riding club too. I'll take care of Nianian." I responded with a simple okay. As soon as I finished speaking, it was still Qingjing who decisively hung up the phone. As I drove away from the riding club, I suddenly didn't know where I should go. Zhou Jiming and Su Wanqing had their own things to do. Passing by a wetland park, I saw quite a few couples camping with their children, and young people bringing their parents out to relax. Seeing their loving relationships and happy families, I couldn't help but feel a trace of envy and bitterness in my eyes. After driving a bit farther, I suddenly pulled over by the roadside. I picked up my phone, hesitated for quite a while, but eventually dialed the number. After the call connected, I spoke, "Director, how is my mother doing now?" An hour and a half later, at Yi Sanatorium, I stood in the courtyard, looking at her sitting on a chair not far away, dull and unfocused, her face gone, so different from the mother in my childhood memories, almost like a completely different person, stiff and lifeless. The director beside me said softly, "Still the same. No real change. Jiang Yingsheng must not come into contact with people from her past. Otherwise she will fall into another bout of mania. She is rarely this calm now, so I neither want nor dare to disturb her." After standing there for a while, worried about being noticed by Jiang Yingsheng, I left the courtyard. Then, through the glass window, I watched her for a moment more. After a while, I put down the books and supplies I had brought for her and left the sanatorium. Even after leaving, my mood remained heavy. On the way back, when I passed by that wetland park again, I saw the sky full of kites and turned the car around. Driving inside, a gentle breeze brushed my face in the park and the scenery was nice, but everyone had come with companions, and I felt somewhat out of place being alone. I stood in front of a small stall, wondering whether I should buy a kite and fly it too. Suddenly, a small hand grabbed my finger and tugged at it. "Uncle." I looked at the person and was surprised. "Meow meow." She nodded lightly, her little hand still holding onto my finger. When Bai Jiang came over and saw me, she paused for a moment before walking closer. "You brought Niani here to play as well?" My tone was calm as I replied. No, I came alone. Bai Jian seemed to understand something and fell silent for a moment, thinking that I wasn't familiar with Bai Jian. I was about to leave when Miao Miao looked up at me and said, Uncle, let's fly a kite together. I waved my hand. No, I still have things to do. Miao Miao looked disappointed, but Bai Jian said calmly, let's do it together. There are only two of us anyway. As if knowing what I was thinking, she added, I'll just watch from the side. I won't disturb you. Just think of it as Miao Miao having one more playmate. One actually quite like Miao Miao. And I really don't want to be alone right now. Hearing this, I didn't refuse. I used to take Nyanyan out to make friends, and I've flown kites many times before, so I have quite a bit of experience. It's just that the kite we bought this time was a bit big, and with Miao Miao being young, it was hard for just the two of us to handle. Bai Jian walked over and silently helped me successfully get the kite into the air. Miao Miao and I both burst into happy laughter. Looking at my smile, Bai Jian seemed momentarily stunned. I noticed the way she was looking at me and asked, confused, what's wrong? Nothing. I didn't press further. I took Miao Miao a bit farther away, while Bai Jian stayed nearby watching, not joining us at all. After getting tired of flying the kite, Miao Miao and I sat by the lake fishing together, or crouched nearby, studying the little fish swimming in a vendor's small pool, then scooping them up with small bowls. Soon it was noon. Seeing that Miao Miao was hungry, Bai Jian suggested eating at a small restaurant nearby. After relaxing for a couple of hours, I felt much better than before, so I didn't refuse her suggestion. During the meal, I mostly chatted with Miao Miao, seeing how well we got along. Bai Jian simply moved the dishes we liked closer to us. I was talking with Miao Miao and didn't notice that a moment later, Bai Jian's phone started ringing. After seeing the caller ID, she said to me, I'll take this call. I didn't even lift my head, just acknowledged casually. It was Jiang calling. Bai Jian walked a bit farther away. Before answering, what's up? Where are you now? Have you eaten? A friend just brought me some fresh seafood. Do you want to come over and have some? Qingmei and the others will be there too. Bai Jian glanced toward Miao Miao and me, then politely refused. I've already eaten. Maybe next time. Do you have plans tonight? There's a yacht party tonight. NiceGamLii and the others have confirmed they'll attend. Why don't you bring your little niece along? We haven't really met her yet anyway. It'd be a good chance to bring her over and let her get to know everyone. Bai Jian replied, she's shy. There will be too many people on the yacht. I'm afraid she'll feel uncomfortable. Jiang laughed. It's fine. Nyanyan will be there too. They're the same age. They should get along well. Without waiting for her to refuse again, she added, it's settled. Remember to come at 7. As soon as she finished speaking, Jiang hung up first. Bai Jian looked at the disconnected phone, speechless. After the meal, Miao Miao and I went cycling. We only stopped when we were both tired. Miao Miao fell asleep from exhaustion, and I also wanted to go home and rest, so I drove away. When Miao Miao woke up and didn't see me, she felt quite disappointed. At 7 p.m., Bai Jian boarded the yacht on time. NiceGamLii and the others had already arrived. Seeing her, Jiang waved at her. When she saw Miao Miao, Jiang smiled first and said, you must be the little beauty Miao Miao. Hello, little beauty. I'm your aunt's friend, Auntie. There were many people on the yacht, and Miao Miao was indeed a bit shy. After Jiang finished introducing herself, Zimingchuan also walked over holding Jiang Nyanyan's hand. Seeing them, Bai Jian paused slightly, hearing that Miao Miao was shy. After Jiang Nyanyan introduced herself, there are many kids over there. Do you want to come play with me? Miao Miao looked at Bai Jian, and after she nodded, she gathered her courage and followed Jiang Nyanyan. After the two children walked away, Jiang smiled and asked, how does it feel being a nanny for the first time? It's alright, although my little niece is shy. She's quite well behaved. Taking care of her isn't too difficult. NiceGamLii handed her a glass of wine. Have a drink. Bai Jian looked at NiceGamLii for a moment. Before taking it, thanks. The two clinked glasses and started chatting while drinking. NiceGamLii suddenly took a closer look at her. Bai Jian raised her eyes. What's wrong? Jiang chimed in. You seem a bit off today. NiceGamLii smiled. clearly agreeing with Ji Qingyu. Bai Jian remained calm and said lightly, "Do I?" Ji Qingyu raised an eyebrow. "Don't you?" At that moment, someone came over to greet them. After the person left, Bai Jian glanced at the time, worried that Miao Miao might be hungry, and was about to go over to her. When Miao Miao and NiceGamLii came back, Miao Miao asked, "Annie, can I go eat some of those little cakes over there?" Miao Miao has an allergy-prone constitution and can't eat many things. Bai Jian quickly said, "Sit here. I'll go get it for you." Jiang Nianian, on the other hand, is used to being independent and in good health, so she takes whatever she wants herself. After bringing it back, she even asked Shen Qingli, "Mom, you want some?" Shen Qingli rubbed her head. "No need." The two children sat aside eating. Whenever Zimengshuan found something tasty, he would also share it with Jiang Nianian. Jiang Nianian happily accepted it. "Thank you, uncle." Miao Miao looked up at Zimengshuan in confusion, then asked Jiang Nianian, "Nianian, isn't this uncle your dad?" As soon as those words were spoken, the whole place fell silent. Jiang Nianian paused, then shook her head. "No." Miao Miao carefully asked, "Do you not have a dad either?" Jiang Nianian shook her head. "No, I do have a dad." There were some souvenirs provided on the yacht. Miao Miao really liked one of the crystal keychains. She picked two, and there were only two of this design in total. Jiang Nianian actually liked it as well, and seeing that Miao Miao had taken both, she couldn't help but ask, "Miao Miao, could you give one to me? I want to give it to Uncle Z." Miao Miao was a bit reluctant and said, "I also want to give one to my uncle." Thinking of me, Miao Miao couldn't help but share with Jiang Nianian. "Today Annie and Uncle took me to fly kites. We went fishing and even rode bicycles. Uncle is very handsome. He will definitely like this crystal keychain." The adults were all present and originally didn't pay much attention to the children's conversation. But hearing this, Shen Qingli and the others all looked toward Bai Jian. Ji Qingyu immediately said, "Jian, what's going on? Or could it be you already have someone?" Ji Qingyu got more and more excited as she spoke. "When did this happen? Why didn't you tell us?" At this moment, Shen Qingli smiled and simply looked at Bai Jian, waiting for her response. Bai Jian's expression remained calm. "We just happened to run into each other," she said lightly, as if recalling something. Ji Qingyu added, "So you even had lunch together. No wonder you, an unmarried girl, were taking care of a child so easily. Turns out you had help." Bai Jian didn't say anything. Shen Qingli looked at her and said decisively, "You like him." Bai Jian paused, but in the end, she didn't deny it. Zimengshuan was stunned, his smile fading. "So it's actually true." Ji Qingyu had only been teasing earlier, but didn't expect it to be real. She quickly asked, "Who is it? Do we know him? Why didn't you bring him over for us to meet?" Bai Jian remained silent. Ji Qingyu then assumed she was being shy about it. Knowing it was useless to ask her, she crouched down and asked Miao Miao, "Miao Miao, the uncle you had lunch with today. How many times have you met him? Do you know his name?" Bai Jian's grip on her glass suddenly tightened. Miao Miao didn't understand what the adults were thinking. She wasn't familiar with Ji Qingyu, but hearing her ask about me, Miao Miao thought for a moment and answered without any guard, 3 times. "What's that uncle's name?" When Bai Jian ran into me today, she didn't even call me Mr. Jiang, so Miao Miao really couldn't remember my name. She looked to Bai Jian for help. "Annie, what's uncle's name?" Bai Jian lowered her eyes. "Next time you see him, you can ask him yourself." Miao Miao nodded happily. "Okay." Ji Qingyu pouted. "So stingy." Bai Jian ignored her, seeing that Jiang Nianian really liked the crystal keychain in her hand. Although a bit reluctant, Miao Miao still gave one to Jiang Nianian. Jiang Nianian was very happy. "Thank you, Miao Miao." Zimengshuan also said, "Thank you, Miao Miao." Seeing how happy Nianian was, Miao Miao asked, "Nianian, aren't you going to pick one for your dad too?" Jiang Nianian's voice softened a little. "I'll pick one later," she said. "After dinner, I read for a while, and then went to take a shower. Just as I came out of the bathroom, I received a call from Jiang Chongsheng. Zhaochun, I just saw Xiang Rufang in the neighborhood." Xiang Rufang Zimengshuan's aunt. I froze for a moment, not yet reacting. When Jiang Chongsheng continued, "At first, I didn't pay much attention, but after I went inside, I realized she entered the villa across from ours. That's currently being renovated. My expression changed, and I suddenly sat up from the bed. Jiang Shangsheng actually has a pretty good temper. But at this very moment, he was gritting his teeth. They did it on purpose for sure. They're already so rich, yet they deliberately bought the house across from the Jiang family. If you say it wasn't intentional, who would believe it? I understood what he meant to. I tightened my grip on the phone and said, I'll call Shen Qingli. If it were anything else, Jiang Shangsheng would never have asked me to beg Shen Qingli. But this matter was different. If Xiang Rufang and the others really moved in, they would probably flaunt their presence in front of them every day. The old madam's health isn't very good now, and she can't handle any stimulation. After I hung up, I immediately called Shen Qingli. After a while, someone finally answered the phone. Hello. It was Zi Mingchuan's voice. I wasn't surprised that it was Zi Mingchuan who answered. After all, Shen Qingli and he were already that close, with no boundaries between them. So what if he answered Shen Qingli's phone? I said calmly, I'm looking for Shen Qingli. Zi Mingchuan also knew that I was the one on the line. He said coldly, she's taking a shower. If you have something to say, you can tell me. This matter did involve him. The person Uncle saw in the neighborhood today was Zi Mingchuan's aunt, but the person who bought that villa might have been Zilai Hai. He bought that villa, most likely to honor Zi Mingchuan's grandmother, his current mother-in-law. If I really told Zi Mingchuan, not only would it be useless, I said nothing and simply hung up the phone. More than an hour passed, but I still didn't get a call back from Shen Qingli. I didn't know whether Zi Mingchuan hadn't told her, or whether she simply didn't want to call me back. Calmly, I called her again. But this time, Shen Qingli's phone was already switched off. I gripped the phone a little tighter. After a while, I calmed down and called the housekeeper at Shen Qingli's place. Are they home right now? The housekeeper replied respectfully, no. That night, I didn't sleep well. The next day, after 9 a.m., I called Shen Qingli again. This time, the call went through, but it was quickly hung up. I didn't know whether it was Zi Mingchuan who hung up, or Shen Qingli herself. I picked up my phone and car keys and went out. Not long after, I returned to Shen Qingli's villa. The housekeeper was very welcoming.